me this time.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something I've been thinking about for a while, but this is a different one, so it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be
Oh yeah,
fun. A little spoil, like a it's not a spoiler. It's a
teaser.
teaser. Yeah, some foreshadowing even.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah. So before we get started, I wanted to kind of broach this subject quickly. We were a couple episodes ago, we were trying to think of like a good thing to call the fans of this specific show. And I used a term from a podcast that I used to listen to. And after I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I don't want to use that. Fuck those guys. Like, I don't want to use their terms. So I decided to come up with something better. And so you've got casuals. And
Mhm.
I decided for Too Hard for the Radio, it should be Radioheads. Right.
Radioheads. All right.
So we've got
Yeah.
casual Radioheads.
Casual Radioheads. Hell yeah, man.
I think that's a good one. So
Making sure to write it down too. I have my pen, my paper, and everything ready to go this time. Like I said,
I've
I
always
came in
got my
studio
paper
early.
right here.
I made sure that I was prepared this time.
No, excellent, excellent. So I guess what do we start with? Do we start with UFC or do we get into the war first?
I mean, let's go. Guest honor or producer's choice. I mean, how do we want the vibe to start? Because I actually have other, you know, brand new topics as
Oh,
well. I think in the
perfect.
last 24, 48 hours that
Excellent.
continue popping off.
Well,
So
let's start with the UFC then.
that was a fun one. Yeah.
So let's you can go ahead and start us off. Did you watch it? It
I
sounds
did.
like you
No,
did.
no.
No, you
I
didn't.
know
Okay.
one of the guys that was slotted to win did win.
Yes.
That's the last and then he called Michelle Obama a man. Like that was that was pretty much all I saw about it.
Yep.
And
So
there was an eagle at the event that came and
yeah,
it was very American
it
and
was
very
it was a lot of propaganda. It was a big time government circle jerk. Like it was all of it. Like, dude, I was just fully thinking like Idiocracy as I'm watching it. I'm like Brando, the
yeah.
thirst mutilator, type of thing. Like
Yeah,
one of the
Lindsay
things that
Lohan.
like really was crazy about it was all the ads. Like I
Mm,
used to watch a lot of UFC, and then it just got to the point where like it was too expensive to order all of the fights that they would have, because the pay-per-view was fucking 50, $60, something like
yeah.
that. And so I just kind of got away from it. I was like, I'm not going to have one foot in and one foot out and like try and watch the, shitty clips that they put up on YouTube after the fights are over. So I'm just going to like step away and not deal with it anymore. And over the last few weeks, I've kind of like stepped back in a little bit because now it's streaming on Paramount Plus, which is nice. Like, I don't have a problem paying like, the $10 a month or whatever it is to be able to watch it. Like, I think it's entertaining enough. But man, since they've gotten off a pay-per-view and like it's been years since I've watched it. So this could have been happening on pay-per-view as well. And
Hmm.
also like I might not have had the same critical eye about this shit when I was watching it last time. So maybe it was happening and I just didn't notice it. But the ads are fucking crazy. Like every inch of that octagon is covered in a different fucking company's ad. John Anik is like pitching products during the fights,
Of course.
which is just crazy. And like this one of the ads that like really caught my eye was like in the beginning it was like, this is brought to you by Trump coin, go buy
Yeah.
some Trump coin. And then later on it was like, the fights tonight are brought to you by Truth Social, the true voice of the president. It's like, oh my god, like it's just exhausting like
Mm,
listening to all of these ads. And like the funny thing is like Trump has so much popular support that there's not really like the same eye on him that there was on Biden. Like
mm.
everybody was bitching and complaining about Hunter Biden making $1 million at Burisma. And like, dude, Trump and his family are just making billions of dollars right now.
Yeah.
Donald Trump Jr. started some fucking defense company for AI that they're probably doing nothing, not even making a product or anything, but he's got $1 billion contract through the government. And it was something.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it. It was something.
Yeah.
I
It was like
don't know.
signs of a collapsing empire. Like we're at the end, you know?
Yeah, but we have been for a while, haven't
We
we?
have.
Like we,
And like
you know,
I don't think it's going to end anytime soon, but like we're going to be at the end for a long time. And I guess like maybe I don't know a ton about Rome, but I would imagine that like Rome was at the end for a long time and they
yeah,
were just
yeah,
keeping it together on life support.
yeah. Well, and that's kind of because I've seen quite a few people make the commentary about the entire like both idiocracy comparison,
Yeah.
just because of the spectacle and the
Uh-huh.
enormity of that event, and many events that I think the Trump administration and the country, like his base as a whole, has kind of leaned into almost whether it's like both the troll aspect of it, of being like self-aware that it is crazy and let's just lean into the craziness of it, but also the Roman aspect, which is this is a clear and easily identified trait of something that is gone way past and is now souring and is now on its verge of collapse.
We're on
And
life support, you
yeah,
know. It's
yeah,
just
which
they're keeping
which
us
is
alive. They got us in the iron lung.
yeah, which is I mean, I don't I go back and forth, how it goes. Like I do think we've been here for a little while, and there's not there's plenty of like instances you could point to of like, yeah,
Mhm.
this is the beginning of the end kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's almost like because of like the lean in aspect of it, it's almost like because we're self-aware of it, it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy so much, but almost the opposite. Like, what's the opposite of a self-fulfilling prophecy? Like almost like a paradox of
Something
a
like
prophecy.
that.
If
Yeah, yeah.
because I really do. Because part of me, a buddy of mine is at this NASCAR event over in like Cali, and he's so like basically the Navy allowed NASCAR to use part of their airstrip and part of the base, and like they shut off certain roads so that they could come through. And of course, what does that do for both NASCAR and the Navy? Like it's a free
Yeah, it's an ad.
event to, yeah, exactly, to recruit and to
Mhm.
be like, oh yeah, this person,
Oh
this
yeah, dude.
driver, is with the
When
Navy, and
Yep. When
so on
I
and so
was
forth,
living
right?
in Southern California, like I was going to racetracks 3, 4 days a week, and there
Mm,
was always, and I mean always, a recruiter at the racetrack.
mhm,
Hey,
mhm.
there's jobs in the military where you can ride a dirt bike. It's like
Exactly,
there's like,
exactly.
and then when you look into it, there's like probably 5 jobs in the
Yeah,
military where you
if
can
that.
ride a dirt bike every day. Like it doesn't really exist, but they use it as a recruiting tool anyways.
Exactly, exactly, and that's exactly. I mean, but point. I'm long-winded. Point is that it was still fun, and my buddy and I were kind of going back and forth. It was like, well, do you lean into the fun and enjoy
Mhm.
the fruits of the dying empire because you're still on the winning side, or do you like give up all hope knowing that it is like or put all your eggs in the basket that it is
Yeah.
the dying empire kind of a thing. And I like I said, I go back and forth as to which team I'm, or side of the fence I'm on,
Mhm.
because to one aspect, yeah, it's like I wish we could invest more in like philosophical thinking and logic and reason and like science, and expand to the stars and be like higher fifth dimensional beings, in 1,000 years. Like that's what I would hope for everybody. And then at the same time, it's like, but an eagle flying over a UFC event and like this FIFA, this World Cup
Yeah.
that we're hosting, that we're beating the shit out of everything, and has all these awesome memes of eagles like wrestling kangaroos and shouting at the top of their
I haven't seen
lungs.
any of those. That's funny.
It's pretty fucked because we just won Australia yesterday or
Okay.
the day before, whatever it was, and it is funny. It's like there's these memes where it's like it's called soccer now. It's no
Yeah,
longer
it's
football,
called soccer, faggot. I saw
and
that one.
it's so funny. It's and again, it's just like the absurdity of the time that we live in. I can't. Maybe
Yeah,
that's as I'm speaking out loud now. Maybe that's the kind of the team that I'm on. It's just I'm on team absurd. Like I'm in a
sure.
good
Oh,
mood,
dude,
and
like I'm not against them having a UFC at the White House. Like
no.
I thought it was a cool event. Like there was a lot of propaganda laced into it, but like
Hmm.
I remember this was probably a year or two ago. I was doing a show with my buddy Nolan, my co-host, and we played this video of like it was a NASCAR event in the 90s, and they had like Apache helicopters as the pace car. So they're like flying
Exactly.
above the loop. And I was like, dude, we used to live in a fun, cool
Yeah,
country.
yeah,
Like that was
yeah.
some badass redneck shit that I love me some redneck shit. You know what I mean? Cuz
Right.
like I grew up in the country and like that's my fucking thing. And I remember saying like why can't we do fun shit like this anymore? Like we
Yeah.
used to be like a fun
A
country.
proper
And
country.
then we turned into this country of like fucking, Karens and snitch culture.
Mm,
Dude, I saw a video the other day where like some woman called in to the police station and was like, "Hey, this woman that I went to high school with, she's posting videos on her TikTok of her shoplifting at Target." I'm like, "Fuck you, snitch." Like if
mm,
it's on Target to get like don't oh, I want to be anonymous because I don't want her to know that I did it. And now it's on YouTube and it's got fucking a million views. So like
hmm.
good for you. Like the
Yeah.
government's really got your back on that one. Now you got some fucking woman coming after you. But I remember just thinking, like, God, how did we get into this snitch culture where like, like I was in the grocery store the other day and there was a guy on like I was going to my pharmacy and there was a guy who was like clearly stealing in the
Mm,
pharmaceutical section. It was like 80, 90 degrees outside and he's got a hoodie on with his hood
mm.
up. And I'm like, yeah, this guy's definitely, you could smell all the axe sprays in the aisle
Yeah.
that he's been trying. And as I'm
Jesus.
walking out, I'm like, man, I should probably tell the store that this guy's stealing. And then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? No, it's on them. I'm not going to go snitch on some fucking guy. Like
Yeah.
whatever.
You're not a worker
If
there.
they're
It's not
not
your
going to, yeah,
company or
if
anything
they're
like
not
that.
taking their security serious enough, like I'm not going to fucking deal with it. It's their problem, not mine. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, 100%. And back to like it's a proper, we used to be a proper
Yeah.
country. I think this general, again, signs of the times of the, collapsing empire. It's like there's this erosion of things that, should be taken seriously and things that are, unfortunately, in their place taken seriously. Like you said, like this snitching culture or this, things that don't fucking matter.
And
Because I
like
have
this
been,
neurosis, like where people are just neurotic and fucking weird and
yeah,
microaggressions and just all of this bullshit that like my
yeah,
grandparents would have like, you know, laughed at. Like, what do you
yeah, yeah.
like? You're some crazy neurotic fucking Karen that's worrying about everybody else and just live your life and don't worry about everyone else.
Hmm. Yeah, I've my timeline has been giving me. I was on a rabbit hole the other day. I was talking to my wife about it. I was just like, I don't know what the algorithm is trying to feed me, so I'm going to see what it's trying to
Yeah.
feed me, and it's like it's giving me things that I don't follow or not interested in. So I was just like out of curiosity interested in what it thinks I should be looking at or
Hmm.
what it's trying to push I should be, and see if I could find a pattern. And maybe I had a couple too many drinks that day, but I was getting like conspiratorial. I was like, it's giving me like the same five things. It's like
Sure.
it
Me
does
too.
X, Y, and Z,
Yep.
and then it'll give me X, Y, and Z, and then it'll give me Z, X, Y, and
Yep.
then it'll like give me variations of the same thing. And I was like, watch, and I showed her. I was like,
You
every
get
fifth
like
video.
one tweet and then like a retweet from 5 different people that aren't adding anything to the actual tweet. Just, hey, look
Mhm.
at this. And you see it over and over
Yeah,
again.
over and over. And
Yeah.
then if you let it play, like if there's a video and
Yeah.
you let it play, all of a sudden the fifth video from the one that you started on will be referencing that first fifth video. And
Yeah.
then it'll be the same like four that follow it of completely different, like topics. It was so weird. And I was just like, yeah, I think I see the pattern. It's like every fifth or sixth one, it's this. Every fifth or sixth of that one, it's this one.
Mhm.
Then it was just this weird string. And I was like, why is the algorithm like this way? And it was just one of those weird instances where, I don't know. It was very clearly catered, I guess is the word I
Mhm.
was looking for, where it's just, why is
Curated.
this what it's curated? Yeah. Why is this what it's trying to show me? And as we're talking, I got the impression that, what I have this like instinct of when it comes to all these stupid Karens and the snitch culture and all this shit is I realized like I have a very similar what you're describing, like with your grandparents or like my parents or grandparents would have reacted is like a lot of these people just have never been slapped, like
Yeah.
or never been punched. And I have this weird, and again,
Get a life.
I'm not the violent kind of a guy, but I was like, huh. That's when I kind of like set down my phone. I was like, huh, is this phone like trying to 5G tap into my brain chemistry here and make me, hit that violent switch because I'm
Yeah.
telling you, like a lot of these videos, it's like this fucking Karen or this, idiot that's yelling, just screaming in some
Yeah.
dude's face. I'm like, that dude is staying very calm. Like he's doing a very good job of staying calm because I think I would have been like, oh, really? You want to, just start mouthing off to me? I think I'm going to punch you in your face. Like in the middle of
Yeah.
this Walmart parking lot, there's just some dude who's just throwing every explicit out
Yep.
out the door, out the window at this dude who's like, I think he was riding a motorcycle or something.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there waiting. He's just sitting there waiting. And then the dude is like touching his bag and like touching. I was like, I would have punched you right there. Like
Yeah.
as soon as I said, don't touch my stuff, and you touch it, and you can tell that this is like not even lukewarm IQ level shit. Like this
Yeah.
is just, he's like, yeah, I'm fuck your mother. Yeah, your mother's a whore. And I'm like, yeah, you're getting punched. I
Yeah.
have no other like instinct in reaction. And again, I was looking at this algorithm that, just in my own like review of it, I was like, is this getting is this getting under my skin?
Yeah.
Is this the idea? Is this the intention here? And yeah, it was very, again, I don't have an answer for that. I
Yeah.
think I think I tweeted about it. Somebody posted, have you seen the Sean Connery? I forget the actor he was compared to, but it's like what Sean Connery looked like at 30, what this actor looks like at 30.
Mm.
And I wanted to put like microplastics, or I wanted to put something like that. I was like, oh, I just did a GIF of the aliens or behind it, or the aliens did it or something like
Yeah.
that, because there's no rhyme or reason other than, yeah, we're like add fuel to the fire of this descending empire, if anything, So,
Dude, there's this Twitter account that I was gonna send it to you to like so we could comment, so we could both like comment on it after you've seen it, but maybe you've seen it at this point. And I literally think it's the worst Twitter account on Twitter. It's called Cartnarks. Have you ever seen that one?
Cartnarks. Is that the one where he flags the people down for not putting their cart back?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. I
That
didn't know. I
is
couldn't
the
tell you if it was Cartnarks,
worst.
but yeah.
That is the worst account on Twitter. Fuck you, dude. Like they hire people to put carts away. If I was, like managing a grocery store that guy was at, I would be like, get the fuck off my property and don't come back. I do not want you harassing my fucking customers. Like, would I prefer that my customers put their carts back? Sure. Do I want you out there policing it? Absolutely not. Get the fuck off my property, you little fag.
It's you've seen, you were in the same like age bracket as I was for the 4chan time frame, where it was like
Yeah.
the what was it, like the description of anarchy using shopping carts, where it's like the philosophy of anarchy, is not chaos, and it means X, Y, and Z, right? And it was like, let's use a cart as an analogy of it. Have you seen that one where it's like
No.
philosophy of more like moral good
That's
versus
interesting,
like
though.
Yeah,
I can see the parallels for sure.
yeah, and it was just one of those very textbook, like if you're a 13-year-old like boy at that time, you're like, that's why I'm gonna start drawing anarchy everywhere, because I'm the moral good, I have the high
Yeah.
ground. And to your point, yeah, it's like yeah, it's still private property, and yeah, it's not exactly anybody else's job. I don't know, because I don't know. I think I'm on the other side. Not necessarily. I disagree with you in the fact that yeah, this fucking dude who's just farming content,
Yeah.
trying to get outrage out there, harassing people who are just, going about their fucking lives.
I would love to see that guy get his ass kicked. I saw one the other day where he almost did, and I'm like, please just punch this fucking guy.
Was it the one with like the yellow or white truck or whatever it was, and he was throwing like the magnet onto
Yes,
it? And
that one.
yeah, I'm glad. See, our timelines overlap
Yep,
a little bit.
They do. They do. That
Well,
was
it's
the
funny,
one.
though.
And I'm like,
So-
please punch this guy.
Well, okay, so let's break it down here. As we do, though, I see you're sipping, I'm sipping.
Mhm.
We never formally introduced. I
yeah.
think our uniform of the day, or whatever the equivalent would be for the show, our substance of the day, our
Yep,
glass of the day,
yeah, me too.
has got to be the old fashioned. I think
old-fashioned.
that's our.
That's the drink.
I think that's the Radiohead's uniform of the day, guys.
Yep.
It's called an old fashioned.
Old fashioned.
We'll spitball the actual term for that, because I love the idea of roping more of these terms together.
Yeah.
So we'll have an old fashioned as the uniform
I
of
have
the
too
day
much
for
time
the
to
show.
think about this shit, so I come up with some fun stuff from time to time.
I love the casual Radioheads. That's
That's
so
good, right? Like, it's
It really
perfect.
is. It really is.
Radiohead.
I love it. I love it. So as our timelines overlap here, let's break it down to, let's go through this logically, right? We're always trying to expound about how we wish more people had logic. Let's go back to logical principles, okay? This guy is farming views, he's farming outrage, he's getting reactions out of people. And in this exact video that we both saw of this couple driving this, not even like a big yee truck, it's just like a normal, I would say,
it's a normal,
American
just
truck.
nice truck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nice is a good way to put it too. And he's throwing that fucking like frisbee magnet that I don't even remember what it says, like fucking shopping cart, whatever.
I'm a Karen. Put your cart back.
Yeah, whatever. And when he does that, that's immediate. They stop. They address, what the fuck are you doing? He with his little fucking flags, like, hey, you didn't put your cart back, and like it could have this and this reason, right? So on the premise and principle right there, his actions why he's likely doing it, similar to what we were talking about with like Chud the Builder.
Mhm.
Speaking of which, there's an update we'll maybe
Oh, yeah,
circle
let's do
back to
that.
on
Yeah,
that.
let's do that.
We'll bob and weave
We'll
here.
weave in and out.
And so just because on right there premise, do I agree that's probably what he's doing? Yes. Would I do that myself? Obviously not. That's why we're recording a podcast instead of running around some random fucking parking lot.
Yeah, dude,
But
get a
three,
life, get a real job. Like,
but at three, we're talking about it, so it has started
yeah,
the conversation, and the conversation I think as a whole is worth having and interesting to have. In the fact that I am very much on, like, it does bother me when someone doesn't put the cart back, especially like in that video. It's right fucking there.
yeah,
So are you really that lazy that you can't do that? Yes, of course. That's on
yeah.
principle. I
No,
think what
I
the
put
guys
my cars
pointing
back
out.
most of the time. Like,
Of course.
the only time I don't ever really put them back is Costco, because Costco doesn't have the, like Costco's
Yeah, the
parking lot
specifics.
gets packed and they don't have this, but you have to take it all the way to the front of the store. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm not doing it.
See. Now again, this is maybe just a personality thing. I do, and there's similar to that video that the guy who's making the video, who's throwing the magnet and shit on the truck, makes a valid point that now. Does it solve the problem that it's private property and that the people who hire people to get the carts should be taken care of? No, it does not. And I think that is still the superior of the two logical arguments as we continue past continue down this logical, like, way of thinking. However, I have had my car scratched from
Mhm.
carts that have been run away and dented. And I drive a nice car that I put a lot of work into. It's not like it was a cheap or free or anything else. And so as anybody else is aware, when you have nice shit, you try to keep it nice.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate when you come back out after being in the store for, 10, 20 minutes, and all of a sudden there's a fucking dent in your car. There's a shopping cart that's like leaning on your car. You pull it off, you see there's a nice fucking, scratch,
Mhm.
squiggle scratch all the way down your fucking, door or the back. Mine, and it is frustrating. And so the point that he had made, and I think the Karen that was siding with him at the end of the video, the
Yeah.
huge lady, she was like, yeah,
She
well,
was
this,
so confused. She thought he was hired to do that job.
yeah. I don't know what she thought, honestly, but she was like, yeah, it does damage property, and by
Yeah,
not
it
putting it
does.
back when
Like,
it's blah blah blah
I
blah
don't
blah.
disagree with the guy. I just think, like, fuck you. I don't like you.
I agree, but that's why I'm saying, like, I think by and large, like, if in some scenario where the internet didn't exist and he was just this guy out there being the autistic, like, train
Mhm.
spotter and naming every train kind of a guy, and his train were these shopping carts, and he was just like, please put your shopping cart. I don't think he is, but in some distant land, whatever, if that was the case, on principle, yeah, I still agree with him whether he is doing that or not doing that. In that, I think the shopping cart should go back. It is right there in this situation where it's it doesn't belong in the spaces, and it certainly doesn't belong in an open parking lot where it's going to roll away and hit somebody's car. And especially because you can't then file a claim like the guy was
Mhm.
pointing out, because you have no proof that it happened, and then if you go back to the store and ask him for security camera, there's no guarantee that the security camera was blah blah blah. So now, does that again put the onus on the private property, the business owner? I agree with you. No, I absolutely think it does. And if you have this shopping cart that everybody's using as part of like this communal piece of
Mhm.
property, then yes, you need to figure out how to, I don't know, update the shopping cart technology so it's not running away. I don't know. So it has a fucking anti-lock brake. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it has more spaces where there's either people waiting for your cart, or we have self-driving actual robot
Mhm.
cars now on the road. Fucking put one on the goddamn shopping cart so it returns itself back to sender type of shit, so that somebody who's parked at the end of Costco, like you said, doesn't have to walk their all the way back up front, then all the way back to their car.
That would be very
It's
expensive, though.
whatever. Like, there's so many things we
Yeah.
fucking do in this country, in this world, that we don't need to, and we waste all this money anyways. Like, I don't know, fix the shopping cart issue so we don't have anarchy when it comes to whether the shopping carts are getting returned back or getting stolen or getting or causing property damage to somebody's car in
Mhm.
the fucking parking lot. At the same time, once you pass the threshold into the parking lot, into this private property, you also take ownership, and you accept the fact and the premise that, hey, it's not there's other people there, and not everybody's going to act accordingly or perfectly, or the universe is chaotic. So accept the like,
The
what's
risk.
that sign
Yeah.
risk thing? I was like,
Accept the
what's the
risk,
sign that was
man.
put out there
If
for
you're worried
for
about your car getting, hit by a shopping cart, park in the back.
or you don't go into that fucking parking lot, or
Yeah.
there's a million solutions
Yeah.
we could consider here,
People are
guys.
so
So
lazy in parking lots. They'll sit in the middle of a parking lot and wait for somebody to pull out of their spot
oh
instead
yeah,
of parking 3 spots further back. It drives me
oh yeah,
nuts.
yeah, and they jam up the whole
Yeah,
traffic going into the
drives me.
parking lot.
I
Yeah,
just lay on the horn on them. Fuck you. Get out of my goddamn way. Like you can walk another 20 feet, you fat pig.
yeah,
Good. It'll
yeah.
be
Oh,
good
I
for
love it.
you.
I love it when you see one of those. And
Yeah.
again, back to our algorithms overlapping. I love seeing like somebody get towed out of a handicap spot, and they're
Yeah.
saying, I swear I was just going into the hospital or whatever to get
Yeah.
my dying granny. It's like, well, dude, sorry, I don't make the rules here, but I'm just a tow truck guy.
Yeah.
Sorry,
And dude,
shit like
like
that.
speaking of algorithms, like when I watch videos on Twitter, like 90% of the videos that it shows me are like cop interactions and fights.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the point of that is to like make you think that the world is just in chaos all the time. But like
Yeah,
when you go outside, you don't see any of that shit ever happening. Like I don't ever see
very
anything
rarely. Yeah.
like that happen, right? Like,
Well,
you
you
know,
also live in
I
a
live in
pretty good
Idaho.
state.
I live in a spot where like I separated myself from those cretins and I don't have to deal with their bullshit. Like that's
I
part of
wasn't
the
gonna be
reason why you live here in Idaho is so that,
right, right.
you have a nice spot to live and
Shush,
you
shush, shush.
don't.
Don't let the secret out, dude.
Yeah,
Dude.
yeah,
Everybody else will be
exactly.
coming
But
there.
like I remember like during COVID, like um, I was talking with somebody about like this chaos type thing. I was like, yeah,
Mm,
man, like you go on the internet and it looks like the whole world is burning down around you,
it's on
especially like
fire.
with in the summer of love with the George Floyd thing, like
Yeah.
everything was just burning down around you. But like 90% of the people in this country, when they go outside and go to the store, like none of that's happening. This is
Mhm.
like a very, narrow, acute version of chaos that's like erupting throughout the country, but it's not happening everywhere.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And that is intent. I mean,
And I think they
I
want
think it
to
is
like,
intentional.
and
Yeah.
I think it's intentional too, because I think they want you on edge. They want you. It's like you see, I was talking to my buddy who's another co-host on the podcast who travels all the time. And I was like, hey dude, like I love watching airport arrests. Like that's one of my favorite genres of YouTube video. That's like one of the saddest parts about Spirit Airline going under is like we're gonna
Yeah.
lose an entire genre of video on YouTube. And I asked him like, how often do you see stuff like that? And he's like, never. It's like I
Mhm.
fly once a week, twice a week, and I never see anything like that.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's like one of those things where Sam Tripoli always says they don't want you to fly. Tim Dillon
Yeah.
says the same thing. They don't want you to fly. They want you to sit in your house and not travel because you go on the internet and like, oh, if I go out into the airport, like I'm going to get beat up or I'm going to run into, some cretin that's going to want to destroy me or, like it's
Yeah.
just one of those things where the more they show you this propaganda of like people are dangerous, the more you want to sit in your house and not leave.
Yeah. I don't disagree that it is intentional. I wonder if that is the ultimate successful solution to it, though, in terms of like let's get them scared so they stay
Uh-huh.
at home. Because as someone like who knows how fucking volatile some people like, I would say the general population can be. To your point, they tend not to be because they are scared, they are dumb, they are,
Mhm.
like a lot of them will just look to the authority figure kind of a thing most of the time. So I don't disagree with you there, but I think as far as like the algorithm's concerned, I don't know about you, man, but I once I get into like that, like you said, you're watching your favorite genre, and again, I'm with you. Like I love seeing people again get slapped after they're mouthing off
Mhm.
somewhere, or yeah, getting arrested. Airplanes is not a big one. I'm trying to think like the towing out of the getting towed out of
Yeah.
a handicap spot is a big one for some reason
Yeah.
that I've been noticing lately. But another big one are immigrants or people who like are just trying to cause problems or scams,
Yeah.
getting like fucking drop kicked by someone
Yeah.
local there. I saw one the other day of I think it was the UK. So obviously nobody has a gun, so I'm not going to watch a murder. But somebody's, which is I'm not seeking out is why I say that. But he was just like throwing rocks or something at this dude, and this Viking looking. I mean, he looks very similar to you. He's
Mhm.
probably like 6 something, and all of a sudden he just like he has short sleeves on. He just metaphorically rolls up his sleeves and just right to the chest to this fucking dude who like he's just like spitting off in some like French or whatever the fuck he was speaking, and just
Yeah.
drops him. And I was like, that is just satisfying. That is just good family fun right
Yeah.
there. Is
Dude,
what that is.
there is perks to looking like me because I'm like 6'3", 225, 230. And
Yep.
people give me a wide berth for the
Yeah.
most part because they
Yeah.
look at me and it's like, hey man, like I don't know how that guy lost his arm. He could be a SEAL or something.
Yeah, I
You know,
don't
like
want to
I'm
know.
not gonna fuck with him.
My buddy says the same thing about us because, and I know my buddy, he's like the sweetest, nicest, like the most calm dude ever. And not to mention, he's not like a big fighter. Like he's never been in martial arts or anything like that. He's just like the country kind of a guy. And same thing because he's got like knuckle tattoos and
Mhm.
tattoos on his sleeves and everything. He's like, I've noticed no matter what country I'm in or where people kind of give me a wide berth. I've never
Yep.
really had an issue like that. And I think it is because of like that stereotypical look. I'm like,
Yep.
I don't know if that is or isn't just because I know the guy. I was like, but at the same time, yeah, I don't think it's hurting you if anything. If
Nope.
anything, yeah,
It's
it is
nice.
helping you to
It's nice
have.
because people look at me and they don't know what to make of me. They're like, oh, I
But,
don't want to fuck with that guy. It
why
could go
bring that
very
up?
bad for me. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. Because, like, dude, if you fuck with a SEAL, like, even a SEAL with one arm is going to fuck you up.
I don't want to fuck with a seal without,
No.
I don't, a paraplegic seal
Yeah,
will
no,
probably
you're
fuck
going to
me up.
fuck
Kind
you
of,
up. You're going to bite you
roll
in the
down.
right place and
Exactly.
you're going to be fucked.
It's like that scene in what is it, Due Date, where he's like this fucking redneck dude or whatever behind the counter at Western Union. He comes out, he's in a wheelchair. He's like, yeah, fuck you. I did my time over in Iraq, and then he pulls out. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm just having a really bad day. He's like, well, it's about to get a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
Throws out the nightstick and fucking just beats the shit out of the two of them. And he's
Dude,
like,
I
nah, I'm
saw
gonna
a
go to
video.
Chili's.
I saw a video on Twitter one time. This was a while back. And I've seen it multiple times before. Where like this guy's like talking shit to a dude with prosthetic legs. He's got two prosthetic legs, and the dude just like pulls his legs off and like
Yeah, I've
dukes
seen
up,
that one.
and he like tackles him and gets him to the ground and just beats the shit out of him.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah.
If he's taking off his legs,
Yeah, you're fucked. Like,
just
yeah.
apologize for whatever the fuck you just said because you done fucked up.
It's
Ron.
always fun to see somebody that knows how to wrestle in a street fight because
Oh,
it's like right away you're like, oh, this guy's gonna get destroyed. Like
Oh, yeah.
I saw one the other day where like this little guy was fighting this really big guy, and right away he just like ripped him down to the ground and threw him into a guillotine, and it was like, oh, dude, you're fucked. Like you
Oh,
can't mess
yeah.
with a wrestler. When I was
Yeah.
racing dirt bikes in Southern California, me and my buddy trained at this place called the Fight Lab. We just did like endurance training there, and it was gnarly. And like I did jujitsu a couple of times, and I remember like I was doing jujitsu with a guy who was a little bit taller than me and probably like 150 pounds. Like he didn't weigh much at all. He was really just like long and lean. And dude, at one point, like he just has his like knee on my thigh, and I'm like, this guy's just like not letting me move. He's like a blue belt or something. So like he knows what he's doing. And I remember just like my leg was killing me. And I'm like down there like, oh my God, my leg hurts so bad. And
Yeah, you
it
can't think.
gave me like this perspective of fighters that I never had before, where it's like even the things that you watch that don't look like they're doing damage are still like doing damage up here, and like
Oh, yeah.
they must have to just like ignore all of that shit because like, dude, it wasn't even like he wasn't like even trying to hurt me at that point. He was just controlling me in top guard and like that leg on my knee, and he just knew how to put his weight into me. And it was like, fuck, man, this guy would fuck me up if he wanted to.
Oh yeah. See, and that is a genre that I do enjoy. Similar to like getting in fights or getting arrested at airports is when you see a guy mouthing off to a guy who clearly knows how to fight, and you're just like, oh, this is gonna like it's the train wreck situation.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is gonna go so bad for
Yeah.
this guy. He doesn't even know it yet. He's
Yeah.
just I think it was one I saw in a garage. And again, why I'm even bringing all these up is back to like the intentionality of it.
Yes.
I think it keeps us on the
On
platform.
edge.
Right?
And it keeps
Well,
us on
the-
edge also.
Well, the
Like,
on edge is such a like hijackable, if that's
it
a
makes
term.
you not want to trust your neighbors.
Well,
Because this is just going to happen when you go out to the grocery store. Some guy's going to try and throw a magnet on your car and yell and scream at you, or somebody's going to get pissed off, for this or that, or they're going to try and cut in front of you in a line. If you stand up to them, they're going to punch you in the face. Like it's like a way to make you just like the whole. I don't even know how to describe this. Like I have it in my head and I'm not able to get it out properly, but like it makes you not want to trust your fellow Americans. It makes you think that like everybody's against you. And in some way they are. Like I remember my grandfather when I was younger, like he had this philosophy where it was like everybody's out to fuck you. And I always was just like, come on, dude, you can't live life that way. But turns out he's kind of right. in a
Yeah,
lot of
in
ways,
one
you
way.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Yeah.
it's not necessarily like the people around you that are looking to fuck you. Like I think overall, especially where I live, like people are mostly like good and polite and there's not a lot of chaos and there's not a lot of like fights around here. I don't think I've ever seen a fight. I had one situation where I was out mowing my lawn one night. This was years ago. And I saw some tweaker like w- going into my neighbor's property. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And I'm thinking like maybe he's related to him or something. So he goes in and kind of rifles around a little bit. And then he walks out and he starts walking down the street, like past my house. And I'm like, this guy was casing my neighbor's house. So I
Mm.
kind of like drive my lawnmower over and he turns into my neighborhood. And I'm like, fuck this guy. And I go over to him and I'm like, hey, man, do not go into my neighbor's house again. You're going to get fucking shot that way. And he's kind of running his mouth at me and I'm running my mouth back at him. And he just walks into my neighborhood. And then like 20 minutes later, he starts walking back and I see him like make eye contact with me. And he starts walking from the other side of the street, like diagonally into my property. And at this point, like I already have my gun on me
Mhm.
because like fuck this tweaker. Like I'm not gonna fuck around with this guy if that happens. So I like walk into my garage and I stand like 10 feet into my garage and I let him like walk into my garage because
Mhm.
I didn't want him to just be on my driveway. I wanted him to
Exactly.
like step into my garage. He's like, hey man, we got off on the wrong foot. And I like pull my gun out from behind my back. And I'm like, no, we didn't. Stay the
Mhm.
fuck out of my neighborhood. He's like, oh, you're strapped. And I'm like, uh-huh. And get off my property before I fucking shoot you. And that's like the only incidents I've had like that since I've lived here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's ideally you never have to have any
Yeah.
incidents like that, right? And that's what, again, why I say a majority of people, despite them probably if the chips were down, they would fuck you, kind of
Hmm.
situation. Uh, Most of them don't want the chips to be down, and even when it's like flirting with it, like in that situation, they're ready to be like, yeah, I'm gonna walk the other way, or I'm gonna turn the other cheek, or I'm gonna fucking cower, or I'm gonna, like a lot of people have the default setting mode
Yeah.
that most
Dude,
people never like,
if I was that guy, because I've been that guy before, like I was a drug addict and I stole some shit when I was younger. Not proud of it, but it happened.
yeah,
Like I would have just walked away and been like, this guy busted me. I'm just gonna get the fuck out of here in
yeah,
case he calls the cops or something like that.
yeah. Let me hit
But
another
like the
neighborhood
fact
that
that
isn't.
he wanted
Yeah,
to come up and like have a conversation with me and convince me that he wasn't trying to steal shit was fucking crazy.
yeah, yeah. And again, it's just the last stat I saw too, which is another infuriating part. This is a good segue to go into a couple of the other topics here.
Sure.
Is
Maybe we should hit Chud the Builder while we're on
Yeah, yeah.
while we're
Let's weave
still
it.
on
Let's weave it.
social media. I think we
Well,
should
well,
probably do that.
no, it's absolutely Chud fits perfectly in here because the stat of there's always the stat of like this city or this country are dangerous because of
Uh-huh.
X, Y, and Z, right? And yet if you look across the board at like repeat offenders, it's like 1% or less
Mhm.
end up committing over like 60% of all
Mhm.
crimes like across the board across this entire planet. So it's like if that's the case, whether it's organized crime or whether it's like gang,
Yeah.
affiliation
And
crime
it's
or whatever cartels.
overwhelmingly one demographic of people. Don't
Well,
pay
nobody
attention to
wants to
that.
nobody wants to admit it, right? But depending on the crime, yeah, this is where I was leading into the topic. Whereas this inquiry over in the UK. Now, before I jump into the gang inquiry, are you familiar with it that dropped over in the UK? I imagine it hit
I
your
don't know,
timeline.
maybe.
The gang rape, or what did
I
they
know it's
say?
happened. Like I haven't seen anything new about it though.
So I think the one by Lowe, I think his name was Robert Lowe. I think he titled it like Rape Gang Inquiry.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of the search results and a lot of the PC police are more commonly labeling it as grooming
Okay. Yeah.
gangs
Yeah.
and
I'm
inquiries,
familiar
whatever.
with those. I just haven't seen anything new about it recently.
Ooh, well,
Okay.
boy, do
Ooh,
we
here we
have
go.
some update. This happened Wednesday or Thursday is when it really like took off. I think it was dropped on Tuesday night. Tuesday night here in the US.
Mhm.
So whatever the 9 hours ahead of us they were over in the UK. It really took off where it was all over my timeline like Wednesday. And my buddy and I were talking about it on Thursday prior to the long weekend for Juneteenth, which
Oh
we can
yeah.
talk about as
Oh
well.
yeah.
that we ended up getting. So So it's been the last 3, 4 days. It really, I've noticed it on the algorithm on my timeline. A lot of the reactions to it within the last like 48 hours. One of which was I'm trying to find the streamer's name. As Asmon God,
Okay,
the
I'm
cockroach
familiar.
guy. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Gold rather, Asmon Gold. He did a like 7 or 9 hour live stream where he went through and read every page of the 200 page report that this Robert Lowe guy. I think he's like a prime minister or whatever member of parliament, I think, over in the UK. And so it's not hard to find. And he goes through, like I said, for hours and hours. Every single page has commentary, reactions to it, and whatnot. And it's prior to him doing that live stream, I was going through some of it with just like on the couch. It was like 4 o'clock or something. I was spending the last day that I had with my wife before I had to take her. She's actually off on a ship somewhere out in some ocean that we can't disclose, kind of a
Ooh,
situation. And it was the last day. I had to take her the next morning, and so we were just like hanging out. We were going to watch a movie. We were going to watch Project Hail Mary actually because we both love it so much.
yeah.
And as like I don't remember what she was. I think she was finishing up some homework. So as she's just finishing up some homework, and I'm just chilling on the couch, spending quality quote unquote time with her. I'm flipping through this, and I'm just like, oh my god, babe, like, oh my god, this is. And I'm reading some of the testimonies, like, what the fuck is going on? This is, and I related it back to my own family, and I just straight up told her, and she obviously was not like halfway paying attention to me at most. I was like, honestly, if this was like one of my sisters, or like I was dealing with this in this community or here, whatever here, I tell you what, I wouldn't be going to work tomorrow. I don't know
Yeah.
how anybody is like, and yeah, they're quote unquote, burning buildings down in Ireland or whatever. I don't know what's related or what's not related, because I don't live there, kind of a thing. But I was like, I don't blame anybody if they're just like, if they check out, if they, I mean, with the whole Epstein stuff, I'm just like, yeah, I mean, what's it going to take? What's everybody's
Yeah.
line, kind of a thing, is what a lot of the conversation I was having when that first
Yeah.
released. And this is another one where it's like, it's indefensible what was
Mhm.
going on. For example, one and a lot of them are like Jane Doe's or like, ex, whatever, female pseudonym, right? And they're describing in a lot of these testimonies, like they're giving their report to the police or to the social services over there. And after, so one case specifically, which is you know is, I think, indicative or is a good example of a lot of what's in this report. And I'm curious what your thoughts are if you go through and watch the Asmon Gold's stream, or if you go through some of the pages yourself, like I was doing. One that is one instance, one testimony, one a victim testified to getting seen in the ER for a quote unquote broken Jack Daniels bottle inside of her
Oh
vagina.
my god.
And after she was getting treated for said incident, uh, the the um, the social services that had to be called, and she was like giving her report to, of like
How
trying to tell
old
them what
was this
happened.
girl?
She was 13.
Oh my god.
And she was like, yeah, they were not interested in any part of like the ethnicity or the demographic that I was trying to report, who had
Yeah.
done this to me, or they were not interested in the actual like facts of how this occurred. Instead, they after treating her for the broken glass and everything, wanted to give her contraception pills, and what did I want to quote it, discuss the inflammatory nature of discussing demographics with
Yeah.
friends and family.
Don't be racist, rape
Don't be
victim.
racist, exactly. Yeah. Which is, and that, so that's one instance. There are instances that were even worse in my book than that instance. And so much so that as I'm going through this, I was probably flipping through it for a good like half hour or so. Like I just went down the rabbit hole and was going through the entire 200 pages. And I was just like, what the fuck is this? I was going section by section. I was like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? I got to one specific one. And again, I don't even want to, it's like one of those where like it makes you sick to
Yeah.
read and think about it. I was like, you know what, babe? And I set my phone down. I was like, I can't read that anymore. I think that's enough internet for me today. I got to touch grass or kind of,
Yeah.
check out, kind of a thing. So that's when we ended up like relaxing, and I had like 2 more whiskey sours that I was making at the time, and we were just watching Project Hail Mary, because it's like, it's so, and again, when I was telling my buddy, we were talking the next day about it, I was just like, yeah, I don't know how any father, brother, uncle could possibly be going to work and like carrying on business as usual with
Mhm.
this kind of situation, because that type of a like that degree of incompetence and systemic like failures. Now, if you go through the report, I want to want to highlight there's like so many like individuals named, like parliament members that were not necessarily part of like a, part of the grooming gang necessarily, but they were inherent in like releasing people back to the public. They were inherent in not following up on calls, like that dude that got stabbed in the
Yeah.
UK, the 18-year-old dude.
I don't think you got stabbed. I think you're wrong.
Whatever. Yeah, he was like, yeah, exactly. He's like, I think you're being racist. I don't believe you that you got
Mhm.
stabbed, even though you're bleeding everywhere. It was such it was that to such a systemic degree that it was just like how one social worker, in fact, or social service. I keep saying social worker, but their equivalent of it.
Mhm.
After having responded to so many of these calls, ended up following up with one victim who was forced married into one of these communities,
Wow.
and she attended the wedding to congratulate the family and this UK girl for having been married and now has quote unquote stability in her life. Like it was to such a degree where it's like
Wow.
it really is one of those like systemic the infiltration like takeovers kind of a thing
Yeah.
where the ideology or the personnel or the law as a whole, like the entire legislative framework was set up to skew in one direction, and it has
Yeah.
led to, and one of the numbers that is in dispute or whatever, like, and there's some nuances here that I don't think are as nuanced as people want to make them out to be, but I'll even give the broken clock is right twice a day situation. One stat, for example, that is thrown out of or I keep saying Robert, it's Rupert, sorry, Lowe's rape gang inquiry, is roughly 250,000 victims were
Oh,
cited. Approximately 250,000 are cited, and
this is
they're
in the
debated
UK alone?
in the UK. So and they and
Wow.
they list certain like legislation changes, and where like certain ones really exploded was post like an immigration reform that I think the current PM was like ahead of, or was was reported to be like the not architect of, or whatever, was responsible for like pushing it through. He has now, in the last 12 hours, is reportedly resigning now from this position,
Good.
because of all of the dismissals that he's given, the social service inactions, the destroyed and tampered evidence and reports. There's just so many things going on. And I was like, I
So
cannot
they fucked up
imagine.
and then they covered it up.
Multiple times,
Yeah.
over decades now. So this started. They cite the beginning of this like immigration like reform policy that started this process back in like 1955 is when it first like became a big issue, or became a big part of the discussion, which is like where numbers were, let's just say 10 a year were coming into the UK, and then it turned into like 100 a year, right? So again, nothing like the US, because this fits in the state of California. California is bigger than all of the UK
Mhm.
combined, Ireland and Scotland and England. However, that was like a big influx. And so that's when they start pointing to instances where if you read Herciali's book about like immigration and a lack of assimilation that a lot of these,
Uh-huh.
Muslim and Islamic groups have, when I read it, it was like very eye opening of like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And when you shield through legislation, or through like in the UK with this, you know, um, laws that allow one for, like the knife for the what was he, Pakistani or something, like when you allow certain things or certain privileges to one side and not the other side, not only does this sow division, but it creates this bubble effect in those communities where they know they can enforce Sharia law. They can assault their wives, their daughters, their neighbors, whatever, and you're not going to do anything about it. You bubble them into their own little community, and then all their cousins move into that same community. Now you have an entire like neighborhood that is only existing within Sharia. They only shop outside of that
Uh-huh.
neighborhood at certain, shops that are owned by
But
cousin so and so, whatever.
try and start a Christian only neighborhood,
Well, sure, exactly. I mean,
you know?
yeah, don't even get me started down on that road. But
Yep.
case in point is, it started sometime in the 50s, and then it got really bad after these latest set. There was two other like sets of legislation, and one was post 2010. Where a lot of like the Syrian migrants, a lot of the African refugees, a lot of that stuff started also getting funneled into the UK, and they took, in the neighborhood of millions. And then it became such an issue where they were not only non-assimilating, they were 100%, like protected and bubbled into these communities where
not just non-assimilating, but anti-assimilation.
absolutely,
Like we're gonna
absolutely
assimilate you to our
2
culture.
hours, 100%, yeah. And you are racist if you don't agree
Uh-huh.
with those things.
And
And again, the
racism's the
police.
biggest crime in the world right now.
Well, there was instances in this same report where there was a mother who, her daughter went missing, um, ended up finding the daughter murdered in a field,
Jesus.
and she was like, yeah, there's a lot of signs that she was getting groomed, and then she was like, what was the term? Like basically, like she was probably a victim of one of these gangs. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, she went missing once, and then when she came back, the daughter tried to take her own life, and the mother was like trying to get her help. She went missing again. That's when she showed up murdered.
And this
And
is
the
also
mother,
poor parenting because,
well,
like, if
sure,
you're allowing your child to be groomed by a fucking immigrant rape gang, like, you're doing something very wrong.
there's a lot
And
of
that's not
shit
to
here.
excuse the people that are doing
No,
this, but
I
also,
don't think
like,
you. No, I don't
parents
disagree with
are
you.
allowing their children to, like, have
Well,
unfettered access to a fucking phone that's
think
gonna
about the
allow this type of shit to happen. And,
sure,
like,
sure.
a I it's fucked
Well,
up
think
to
about
say,
the
but like a lot of this does fall on the parents because like if you were a parent to your child instead of like a friend that's going to let
mm,
their child discover who they really are and like
yeah.
oh, there's nothing wrong with hanging out with this immigrant community that wants nothing to do with our way of life and our culture, like there's a problem there as well.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Part of it, I want to like blame those like put the
Sure.
blame where it correctly resides, and that is, I mean, let's
But
be honest,
like
like that is part of
nobody's
it.
blameless in that situation.
Y- yes, and
Except
but
the
some
child. The child is blameless. The child was not raised correctly because they thought that interacting with this grooming gang was a good idea. And then also like the fact that these grooming gangs are in our countries to begin with is fucking ridiculous.
let me go a little bit further too. There was a similar to like an orphanage that was selling kids
Oh
to
yeah,
these gangs.
that happens.
Um,
Yep.
and so there was instances, as young as 8 or 9.
One of the
Um,
worst things you can do for a child is give them over to the state.
well, why I'm pointing this out is there are a lot of instances where the parents were not part of the equation in the same regard as like, let's say it's a single parent, this mom, for example, she ended up getting arrested, by the way, for posting about this on Facebook,
Oh
saying
yeah.
that these are the issues
Yeah.
that we're experiencing in these communities. We need to do something about that.
Yeah.
It was taken
Go
as
to jail,
defamatory, or
racist.
yeah, and so she ended up getting like 8 years probation for her
Wow.
defamatory. She spent time in their equivalent of a jail. She
Mhm.
got fined, and then she got 8 years probation. Case in point, though, is you have to go to school, or you have to be part of the state and the system there, especially on something in a country as small, geographically
As
speaking.
the
There, like
UK,
you
yeah.
can't go anywhere else.
Mhm.
And so if you're, let's just say, not even of the middle class or of the lower middle class of this country, you don't really have a lot of options other than state schools, state transportation. You don't have, and all of it. This is the huge problem that I think a lot of people overlook when they're trying to advocate for a lot of these policies over here in the States. Is like, yeah, I would love if there were, reliable transportation. Like the Japanese subway system when I was over there was a fucking marvel. It was fantastic. It ran on time. Anytime it didn't, it was always like the biggest issue for the people whose responsibility it was to have it run.
Uh-huh.
They just took it seriously, and it worked very well, and it was safe, and it was, so on and so forth, right? So I would love to have that as a luxury item in a developed nation. Having said that, the problem with having, a huge, large, over, arching umbrella, government controlling every aspect of your life, whether it's your transportation to and from work, so therefore your work, like whether you
Mhm.
get paid or don't get paid, whether you're on time or not on time, all the way down to what your kids know to be true, what the facts of history are, and what they believe is or isn't racist, or
Yeah.
propaganda, or LGBTQ, empathetic or whatever, right? Whatever they're fucking buying up and scooping into your kid's mouth at school. Then you also have on top of that, again, all of that is not even a choice. Then you have on top of that this third party, middleman that is then like the case is in this report, grooming these already, vulnerable, young girls. I mean, girls we know from a lot of data points now that we can point to, a lot of studies out there, um, are very vulnerable to social
Yes.
media. They're
They
very
have,
vulnerable.
like, young girls have very serious self-esteem issues.
And it has gotten exacerbated, whether we're better at reporting it or better at studying it now. It has been exacerbated since social media is out there.
Mhm.
Whether you want to correlate into causation, there is neither here nor there. I'm not going to make one argument one way or the other. I'm just saying, similar like the Wuhan lab, if there's a lab here and it happens to be
Yeah.
testing on fucking biological warfare items, maybe now that there's a
And this
biological
is
entity
like a
that came out.
small anecdote, but, like, I grew up in a very small town, and, like, I went to a very small school. Like, my entire high school had less than 400 people in it, and, like, it's interesting because, like, some of the girls that were, like, popular while you were in
Mhm.
high school that you thought were good looking because they were popular turned
Yep.
out, like, to not be very good looking. They kind of let themselves go, and a lot of the girls that you never looked at because they
Hmm.
weren't popular were actually the good looking ones. So if you can pick out those good looking girls that are not popular and tell them that, like, hey, you give them a community and they
Hmm.
feel like that they're appreciated and they feel like that they're looked at in the same way as these popular girls, it's going to lead them to, like, have a higher self-esteem within that community that's
Absolutely.
grooming them for fucking immoral purposes.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, look, pornography does it all the
Yes.
time. Prostitution used to, and
Uh-huh.
stripping. Like
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans now, absolutely. And that is, uh, uh, it is a problem. But it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's probably a fucking duck, right?
Yeah.
And when you have these, like we said, these non-assimilating, almost, not even almost, 100% anti-Western, ideologically, beholden individuals,
Yeah.
entire,
Entire
not small.
cultures,
Yeah,
anti-Western cultures.
not even a small sect. Again, it's not even what I would constitute like a gang, which is 20 or less. No, this is in the neighborhood of hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
individuals operating. And I mean, there's a map if you want to go through the report as well that targets like, or that outlines the specific targets that were, the not targets, modules
Entire
or whatever.
fucking neighborhoods that have been
Yes.
taken over.
Yes, and that they were the hubs of these, I mean, entire apartment
Uh-huh.
complexes that were used as like, sex houses, and entire, they were always logistically and strategically placed next to a lot of these schools that
This shit
were like,
isn't random.
it's not. Now, there's the conspiracy that can keep going down this, but the sickening part is that regardless of how we got here, that shit needs to be fixed immediately. And the fact that it got so bad so far, noticing the breadcrumbs leading up to this is, I think, very important, especially as it relates to our country. And as you're going through the report again, like wherever we want to place blame, I think we have to be specific on who is responsible and who is more to blame than others, and
Mhm.
immediately start rooting them out. I was telling the wife, I was like, the first thing I would do, I mean, again, if this was my sister, there'd be, I'm sorry, I'm not showing up to work tomorrow, and there's going to be some fucking
Yeah.
houses, burning down.
Yeah.
I'm going to lock the door.
Yeah.
And she was like, we got into this whole like philosophical conversation about like collateral damage and like how
Mhm.
we, my wife is not one to mince words, and let's just say she said a phrase similar to carpet, or what did she say? Make something, some geographic location into a parking lot
Yeah.
is always her go to.
Mhm.
Joking or otherwise, it was one of those where it's like fuck. The memes of the of the, now again, guys, I'm joking casuals at the behest of crying. Right, you can laugh or you can cry, because
Mhm.
it's disgusting the fact that these kids, I don't know how you ever come back from that. A lot of these
You
girls
don't.
were giving
You
testimonies and stuff.
absolutely don't. You never have a
She,
normal
th-
life after that.
th- one of these girls was testifying that she had between 800 and 1,000 different um, rape perpetrators during the 3-year period that she was kidnapped and held within one of these
Jesus
houses.
Christ.
And it's like, and again, every act, that you can possibly think of, and then some, is in this report for this one specific girl. And it's just like, how, the fact that she hasn't killed herself, and the fact that that other girl who ended up found in a ditch, in the field or whatever, tried to kill herself. I mean, this is again, like that, on that level of like pure evil. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to quote any of these, and I know, honestly, if anybody says, "Oh, you will sound like a Christian national," whatever, fuck you, suck my dick. That's fucking evil. Like whether it's demonic, interdimensional, alien species, whatever the fuck you want to say. If you are sitting here saying, "Well, that sounds racist," or "That doesn't sound very,"
Yeah,
that sounds like
fuck you. You're part of the problem.
you are 100% part of it. I don't give a fuck anymore. If you say that I sound like Alex Jones because I'm pointing out the fact that these girls, all of them minors, were raped to the nth degree and groomed and sold by multiple, and again, 80, I think it was 85 to 92% of all the perpetrators that were either arrested or documented as part of these gangs were Pakistani or
Mhm.
Iraqi Muslims. So
Yeah.
it's like,
It's
fuck
not a
you.
it's not a mystery who these people are and where they're coming from.
And it's not racist to point out demographic facts. That was
Mhm.
a thing that really pissed me off in a lot of the police reporting is like, you're going to say you're not going to collect demographics because that will put a poor outlook, or people will look poorly on said Pakistani immigrants. No, I'm looking poorly on anybody from wherever they're at that's kidnapping and raping girls. And if they happen to be Pakistani part is secondary. It's not
Yeah.
even in part of the top
I
10
would be
conversation.
just as furious about a Mormon rape gang as a Pakistani rape gang.
Thank you. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? And then on top of that, if it's 85 to 92% of these 250,000 victims were perpetrated by Pakistani and Iraqi immigrant Muslims, then that is worth noting, and that is worth somebody keeping an eye on the fucking subway to a random Pakistani immigrant. I'm not saying go punch, the punch a Nazi, punch a Pakistani kind of a situation. I'm not saying, become racist towards every Pakistani you fucking meet. What I'm saying is, if that is the percentage of perpetrators in terms of their demographic, in terms of the demographic of the perpetrators coming into that country and creating the issue that you're seeing there, then yes, that is worth noting, and yes, that is worth keeping an eye on for any of those immigrants that are on the subway or driving around in taxis that are used. That a lot of these taxi companies were apparently used as ways to, hey, we're going to be nice to these girls. Hey, do you need a ride home? Hey, as we
Yeah.
give you the first, second, or third ride
We'll
home.
give you 10 rides for free, and then on the 11th, you're going to our place.
Well, slowly but surely on the second ride. Oh, you look. Yeah, I have a bottle of alcohol. You look like you're 16 or whatever. That's legal in that country to drink at 16. Oh, your mom doesn't let you drink even though you're only 15. Oh, that's okay. I mean, here you go. Here's a little
Yeah.
bottle. Take it home. Share it with your friends. I'm the cool taxi driver. My name's Mohammed. I'm gonna take you home today. And everything's. Oh, do you want to come over? We're having a party over at this house. And all of a sudden now, and then they have a blackmail. I mean, the shit that they outline in this inquiry is disgusting. And
Mhm.
it's not the only one that they,
I'm kind of
has been.
surprised they even did the inquiry.
Well, it was
Because
crowdfunded. That's the
oh,
crazy
okay,
part.
that makes sense because the government does not want the conclusion to that investigation.
Yeah,
That's
there's a couple.
that's an investigation that when you come to the actual conclusion, it fully falls on them. Like nobody asked us normal citizens if we wanted unfettered immigration into our countries. They just decided to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Why I say, like, root and all out at the stem. If you're just like during the Epstein quote unquote release that was happening, I was like, I I can't do this by myself, but if there are any, if there's 50,000 other, I mean, we did the math that one time on that one episode.
Mhm.
What is it like? You only need like 4% of the US population in specific strategic
Mhm.
areas to actually be like, no, enough is enough. Shut down power, shut down water,
Mhm.
shut down transportation, and now all of a sudden you have cut off the US government
Yeah,
to
dude, a
all of their
small
means
group
of
of
continuing.
linemen could shut down this country in a day.
And anybody else, I mean, not, not FBI agent listening right now, Hermes would never be a part of said,
Yeah, yeah,
overthrow.
yeah.
It's just I don't know when enough is enough. That's what I said about the Epstein stuff, Epstein files. I was like, I don't know when enough is enough. I don't know how many fucking politicians have to be caught before people are like, stop empathize, or like creating excuses for them, and be like, oh well, they're doing the best with a bad situation. No, no, no.
No, they're not.
Cut it all
No,
out.
they're
That's
not.
it. It's French Revolution time. This
Yeah.
is enough is enough, and
Start building the guillotines.
to the UK's credit, I guess. You know, uh, there's a lot of discussion about like flawed data and flawed testimony and yada 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 about this crowdsource one. There were quote unquote official inquiries done prior to this Rupert Lowe's, and I think those are 20, 30 years in the making. And let me think. Let me see here. Findings. There was one specific one. Oh, zero finding. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, of
Let me see here. Where's zero?
course.
Oh, zero. We inconclusive findings. What else here? So
We
we have three or four.
investigated ourselves and found that we did nothing wrong.
Huh. And lo and behold, when you have a crowdsourced, I think they raised like £1 million. You have a crowdsourced and funded separate third party overlook into the bullshit.
Mhm.
Within like a month, they come back with, oh yeah, these are very troubling findings. These are very, and this is what we found and put it out there
But
for
it's
all to see.
clearly not our fault. We didn't tell them to do this.
Yeah, and then and what's the biggest response that I see to a lot of like a mainstream media response to it? Oh, this is going to stoke racial tensions.
Yeah.
This is flawed data.
Yeah.
Their poor data collection, etnicity of perpetrators
This is
were
a
not
unique
recorded.
situation. It has nothing. This isn't attributed to an entire group of people.
Yeah,
This
you
is
can't.
just
Yeah, you
a,
can't
a
attribute that.
unique circumstance that we didn't see happening. We never foresaw any of this coming. Like this is
Yeah.
just a group of bad apples. It has
Hmm.
nothing to do with unfettered immigration and cultures that
Policing. Yeah.
refuse to assimilate and are trying to assimilate our society to theirs. Like, no, don't look at it
Okay.
any deeper than that. It's just a group of bad apples.
Well, then I wonder why the prime minister would be resigning after all of this.
Yeah,
It's crazy that he would
that's
if it's
crazy.
such
I didn't know
flawed.
that. I didn't know that.
It just happened today. I just saw,
Wow.
honestly, before we started recording, like 2 hours ago. I
Wow.
saw it and it was like 3 or 4 hours old. So I was like, oh, so it just happened
And it,
today.
it was over this.
It didn't. I mean, he didn't formally say because of these. I'm going, but he was basically like, I mean, he just passed that 16 and under ban for social media that's beginning, I think, in July, and a lot of people, I think, were prior to this report coming out saying,
I
like,
mean,
oh
there's
yeah, that's
been riots in the UK recently. I know that. Are
yeah.
the riots over this?
Again, there's that Robinson guy,
Yeah.
and say what you
Tommy
will. Like
Robinson.
there has been some shit going down, and what I was telling my wife when I was reading through the report, I was like, honestly, I haven't done the due diligence to know because it's not my country. So
Mhm.
I've heard
Yeah,
this,
I
I've
don't pay
heard that, I
attention
don't
to the
know.
UK because it's a failed state and like I have no,
Well, like I'll talk to
vesting
my
interest
buddy.
in that state like surviving or not. I don't really care.
Well, just like we were talking about in the beginning, how they want to stoke these things and
Mhm.
want us to stay engaged on our phones and believe everybody's out to get us. That's worldwide. And
Mhm.
so, I'll talk to my buddy Dom who's living there and just finished his congrats by the way, Dom. He just finished his degree over there. And he's like, yeah, I go to work, I work at the bar, everybody's having like he doesn't describe it as like a fucking war zone
Mhm.
like you would see online.
Yeah, no,
So
Pierce
naturally, of
Morgan does the
course.
same thing. He always tries to minimize like the points that like the Tommy Robinson crowd are making.
And again, whether because I don't live there, it's not like I have a dog in the fight outside
Mhm.
of it's a Western country who that I have enjoyed visiting every
And
time
I'm against
everybody I
child
enjoy.
rape. I mean,
Yeah, it just happens.
that might be a fucking crazy, position to take, but like being against child rape in, 2026 is racist apparently.
Well, I mean, in this country, it's not racist, but it's classist,
Yeah.
if nothing else, because we do have the Epstein. What'd you call them? The Epstein
Yeah.
class, which is very much a mix of this and that. But the thing they have in common is they're rich and they love children, apparently.
Yeah.
So,
They love that
uh,
pizza and that beef jerky.
yeah, 100%, right? So,
I
again,
I watched a video the other day. So like Alex Rosen, who is a fucking American hero. Like straight
that was
up.
the
Like
dude.
Alex
Wasn't
Rosen is an American hero. He's the guy that went to the Chud the Builder
Judge? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, isn't that the
courtroom.
guy? Yeah, yeah.
So I watch all of his videos. Like I'm a member of his paid locals subscription where I, watch all of his preg catches. He
Hmm.
came to my fucking neighborhood last week.
Okay.
He busted this guy in Meridian, Idaho, which is like 5 miles from here.
Hmm.
And this guy was like a crazy liberal who was on TikTok, like being anti-Trump and, just like having all of these crazy liberal fucking policies. And they ended up like busting him for child porn and for like
Hmm.
talking to a teenage girl, like somewhere between like 11 and 13, something like that. And they ended up like getting all of the information out of him that they needed. So when they're waiting on the cops and they don't need any more information from him, they'll bring this guy on who calls himself Gunther, and he
Hmm.
acts like a mental health professional, and he just like basically stalls time with them,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know, and a lot of his stuff is like very funny and coded. Like he'll say some really funny shit, but he acts like a gay
I think yeah, I know
mental
this
health
guy. Yeah.
professional
Yep. Yep.
anyways.
Yep.
So he's like talking to this guy and he's like talking to him about racism. And the guy just like the pedo just like goes off on like, oh, these racist people are the worst people in the country and blah, 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 blah. And just going on. And it's like, dude, you're trying to rape a 13-year-old girl. And
Hmm.
the biggest problem in this conversation is racism.
Yeah.
Like, how
Into him.
fucking crazy and fucked up is that? Like, you're cool with trying to rape a 13-year-old girl, but racism, that crosses the line.
Of course. Of course. One's hatred and one's love. I've heard that argument.
It
One
was
is
nuts. Like, I was just like watching this going like, how do these people like even operate? Like, how
square the
could you
circle here.
possibly like freak out over racism? Meanwhile, you're texting, you're sending penis pictures to a 13-year-old girl and you're watching infants being raped on Telegram. Like, what the fuck is wrong with society where like you can watch infants being raped on on Telegram, like child porn, that's not a problem. But racism, oh no, we can't go there.
Well, there's a who I
It's
forget where I read it, who it
infuriating.
was.
It's
Well,
infuriating.
tell me it doesn't make sense though. I can't remember again. I forget who said it, but it was the drip. What was it? The drip feed of normalcy
Uh-huh.
of drip feed by normalcy or something like that, which was basically like how many movies, how many stories, how many times were you taught in school about the Klan or about
Yeah.
racism being
Oh,
bad,
yeah.
yada yada.
Or the
How many
Holocaust.
or whatever, right? And again, that's not. I'm not going to open up the can of worms, guys. Okay, casual radio heads out there, I'm not opening up that can of worms. But you know what I mean when it's not. It's not zero. It's not one. It's not even 10. Right? It's plenty. We all read about it. We all heard about it. There's plenty of movies about it. There's probably a new movie in the works that will come out this year or next year about
Mhm.
Harriet Tubman or whoever.
Oh,
Right?
that yeah,
12 years a
it's
slave.
constant.
Whatever. Right?
There's always one. Yeah.
How many? How many?
Hey, and conveniently, no race swaps in those movies.
of all the movies that never really swapped. But at the same time, how many of in a similar fashion, whether it's movies or whether it's stories or
Mhm.
songs or whatever, are do exist rather about pedophilia? How many? There's
Very
maybe
few. The
there's a
Sound of
Lifetime movie.
Freedom, which got
Sure.
aced, which got busted out of every fucking, um, you know, big production company, wanted nothing to do with it, you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
And
Yet
dude,
every
like this is
production
like
company will
another
sign
thing
on
that's
for.
been driving me nuts recently. So like Alex Rosen he does like 1,000 of these things a year where he busts like 1,000 pedophiles a year. Like this
Yep.
guy has more convictions and more prison time than any fucking cop in the country. And like
Oh yeah.
a lot of these cops will be pissed off at him when
Hmm.
he shows up in their town. You're not doing this the right way and blah 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 blah. And it's like, if I was to if my one of my tenants punched me in the face and I didn't have it on video, and I called the cops and reported this guy for punching me in the face and I've got a black eye, they're going to take the guy in. But when somebody comes to your town and interviews a pedophile and gets them to fucking admit to
Confess.
everything that they're doing, they go, well, we can't accept that testimony. Like, what are you thinking? And like, dude,
Yeah.
this is
It,
happening in every fucking city, in every state in the country. Every police department in this country should have an entire division devoted to this, but instead they're pulling people over for speeding,
mhm.
window tint, registration, all of this road pirate bullshit, while we've got fucking pedophiles everywhere in this country. Every city, every town, every county is running rampant. Like they don't have enough resources to catch all of these people, and the police, when they do show up, don't want to do anything about it. Most of the time, they don't even arrest these people on scene. You're
Mm.
lucky to get a phone seizure, you know?
Jesus
And
Christ.
like, but if you're driving down the freeway doing 5 over and you don't want to, give them your ID, or if you don't, it's fucking crazy the amount of like bullshit that our tax dollars are wasted on, road pirating people for bullshit, victimless crimes when you've
Yeah.
got this going on everywhere.
it just happened to me. Speaking of which, you reminded me, I got to pay that fucking ticket now because I was getting to work and I
Yeah,
was
God
going.
forbid you do 5 over.
I mean, I was going 15 over, but God
Oh
forbid
my
he does
god.
does God forbid he goes 30 over to catch me. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
that's a it's just, it was one. And again, now I won't.
I see videos all the time where, like, they'll throw somebody in handcuffs and put them in the back of their car and not put a seatbelt on them.
Well, at that point,
If I'm driving without a seatbelt, I get a fucking ticket. But if you
right,
arrest somebody, put them in handcuffs behind their back where they have no way to like keep
stop their
themselves,
fall. Yeah.
stop their fall when you're and they drive like fucking maniacs.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
treat
Corners and everything.
police cars like they're fucking NASCARs. They drive like fucking maniacs, and
Yeah.
it's infuriating.
Again, like I 100% agree with you. Now, I know I'm always one to play devil's advocate kind of a thing. Yeah, I'm not going to say that we can't also have law and order and that, speeding yada yada or, driving unsafely isn't worth, anybody's time or tax money or anything like that. Sure. Okay. Let's give every single one of those, right? We'll give you we'll agree and give you that right out of the gate. We'll just acknowledge the premise out the gate. That doesn't mean, or how does that then equate to your point, oh, you're doing this the wrong way. If there is a wrong way to catch a pedophile and bring them to justice, I don't give a fuck if it's the wrong way, right way, or otherwise. If the way that you are not responding is death, okay?
Yeah.
If there's another way, it's not arrest or death, that is if those are not your two responses, then you're the wrong. I do
Yeah.
not give a fuck what the legality of it is. I do not
Your
give a fuck.
police department is doing nothing about this. Nothing.
Then that's
You're just
then
letting them fucking operate. You're letting them get away with this. And then somebody comes in and fucking catches this guy. And all of a sudden, they're the
now it's a
worst
problem.
person in the world because you're not a cop. You're not supposed to do that.
Then fuck you.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have cops who are doing nothing. I mean
Uh-huh.
that I'm going to say that right now. Then if
Like I
you're
said,
saying this is on the
every
books,
fucking department in the country should have an entire fucking division devoted to this.
yeah. I mean, and a lot of them now give it again credit where it's due. A lot of them do. And as someone who went through, I don't know, 50 of the 200 pages, maybe 50 of the 200 pages that were in this fucking inquiry report from the UK, had to like set my phone. I wasn't even doing
Yeah.
an hour's worth of work. Had to set my phone, be like, I can't. No, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine the fucking who is behind those keyboards and
Yeah.
is able to put in the work. I mean,
Dude,
so give
there's
credit where it's
reports
due.
that the cops that went through Anthony Weiner's laptop committed suicide.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me, but at the same time, it's like,
I
so
don't know
how
if
the
it's
fuck?
true or not. Like, it's just
Yeah.
one of these things where, like, I've heard Alex Jones talk about it before, where, like, there's reports that, like, this has happened.
Yeah.
It was
It's
so fucked up and so bad that these fucking cops killed themselves over seeing it.
well, back to normal, drip feed normalcy, drip feed or normalcy by drip feed. Um, Again, we all know racism's bad because it's been shoveled
Yeah.
to us since we were young. A lot of things that I think, we're in the similar age group when the internet was becoming a thing. So we were both like seeing a lot of the wild west of the internet
I
back in
never
the day.
did. I never did.
No?
No,
Okay.
I wasn't into the internet. I've never been into the internet. I didn't do social media. Like, I didn't like, I'm still not super into I watch YouTube and I go on Twitter from time, but like, I'm not an internet. I
Good.
have no,
Good.
like, I
You
grew
don't,
up racing dirt bikes.
yeah.
I didn't do any of that shit when I was a kid.
It's not that you need to, but what the point that I would say that I would make from people that did see that is just like pornography, the desensitization
Hmm.
it has over somebody's two aspects of somebody's psyche. One is their imagination for the depraved. I have seen videos and like live leak videos of death at such a young age that I just know how fragile, how dumb people are, and how sick, frankly, the cartels or
Hmm.
anyone over in the Middle East, like these sheiks and stuff that I saw, like there's depravity and there's evil out there that that my imagination will not fail to predict is out there. I've just seen enough of it, so I don't need to. Nobody needs to drip feed me something to convince me these things exist. If somebody
Yeah.
says this is happening and we have the evidence for it, I'm like, okay, I completely, that is not outside of my wheelhouse and realm of possibility. The counter to that, though, or the other side of that coin, is that because it's so, you know, because it was just so inundated, because it was so like normalized, the stomach that I have for a lot of these things, and again, I'm not even the worst. There are plenty of, even kids today still seem to have the same issue. It's like you only experience those things from a screen's perspective, not like
Mhm.
a real world perspective. There is inevitably not even a, I don't want to say lack of respect for, because I don't know if that's necessarily how I would say it.
Lack
That
of
is a good
empathy.
way to that is a good well, it's a disconnect.
Yeah.
It is certainly one way,
You see
no
it
matter what
like
it is.
it's like the screen gets rid of your empathy because it's not really happening.
It's blue pixels in front of
Mhm.
you, and you can turn it off at any point. You can disconnect from it, so therefore, the disconnect from whatever it is that you're seeing, death or otherwise, is always going to be present. And if that's reinforced at a young age, and then reinforced and reinforced and reinforced growing up, it is also not shocking that a lot of these things are now getting worse as you desensitize your brain and your
Yeah.
personality, whoever, to
Like, I think
these
video games
atrocities.
like, I'm not one of these people that, like, think that, like, video games make people violent, but also,
Mm.
like, when you're just murdering people on Call of Duty every day, it kind of desensitizes you to violence in a way.
It at least approaches, again, if you were never, again, you grew up Mormon, right? You
No.
never once approached, no, I'm saying
Oh,
if
okay,
you
okay,
did,
yeah.
if you were someone who was growing up Mormon, right? And you never approached, because I've met a lot of these people where I'll ask them like, oh, did you ever do this? No. Oh, did you ever see that? No. Did you? And it's like, okay, it's not that I don't think our conversation is, fruitful, but it's like, it is a different, we're both coming at this from very different,
Sure.
directions
And, like,
because,
I've known a lot of Mormons over my life, and, like, I was friends with Mormons when I was younger in, like, my early 20s and shit, and, like,
mm,
those people are kind of kept in a box as
mhm,
children, and then as
yeah.
soon as they get out on their own, they go fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, and a lot
Not
of them,
crazy, but, like, they
yeah,
get wild. They start partying, they start getting into shit because they were,
yeah,
coddled so heavily as a child.
like the Amish Rumspringers kind of a thing. Like
Yeah,
that's their time to
yeah,
go crazy, and some of them are like, "This is fucking awesome. I'd much rather."
yeah.
But the point is that a lot of them are naive, especially if they stay in that in that church or that mindset their entire life. Now, naive but happy. Ignorance is bliss. Separate conversation. Have it, don't have it, whatever. Point is, when we come at a conversation from different angles, very, very different, beginning points to this same conversation now, um, it it is worth noting, not that it's the most important, but it is worth noting that we're not going to often conclude the same way, and we're not going to have the same experience to reach a conclusion, at the end of the day. So if the average, I don't know, senator, let's just say, and again, this isn't the case, I'm not espousing it as truth, but let's just say the average senator is like very naive, very insulated when they get something on their desk where it's like, what the fuck do you mean? I'm not shocked when they are surprised, or they have that moment of disconnect where they're like, yeah, that's not happening, or yeah, I don't know how to, and the solution they
Or
have is
I
either
don't
to ignore
want
it or
that
give it
to
to
be
some
real.
that same thing. Yeah, the
This is
fundamentalists I see
inconvenient to my ideology, so I'm
that
gonna
too.
toss it in the garbage.
Yeah, exactly. So that is a reaction. That, again, it's not surprising. That is one of the reactions, which is ignore it or give it, quote unquote, give it to somebody who they believe is able to process and has experience with that kind of a thing, and nothing ends up getting solved. I mean, that's not surprising, again. And so if the less people, I don't know, the less people we have capable, it seems like we're only inevitably getting more of that, back to the downfall of
Mhm.
empire that we have in this
Yeah.
country. And I think we're past that domino effect. I mean, I've been scrolling trying to find this guy's name. I can't fucking find it now. Of course, maybe the algorithm has scrubbed it because it saw that I was engaging with it, and that's inconvenient for the algorithm. But there was that senator, I think it was Rhode Island or it was like Jersey. I think it was Jersey. Um, was just arrested and sentenced to 33 years
Oh, wow.
for uh, child sexual assault, exploitation, child porn, all this stuff. And it was the first. The
And,
screenshot I had
like,
was like,
also recently, somebody in Texas, like Ken Paxton, the AG, released somebody, who was sentenced to, like, 50 years for raping a child. He released him after, like,
fucking
less
crap,
than 2 years.
because he was innocent or because
No,
he got
because
paroled.
I don't know.
Good
No, it
behavior
wasn't
inside, right?
paroled. It was like a pardon type deal.
Jesus Christ. That, no,
Guy did
see,
like
that's
less than 2 years.
no. that's unacceptable, plain and simple. And
Mhm.
this guy, well, again, screenshotting back to when this individual, we'll say for now, was running and then elected to this Jersey or Rhode Island or wherever the fuck Vermont um, Senate seat or Senate, Congress. I think it was Congress. Um, Neither here nor there. After they were elected, it was like, oh, how pivotal and how progressive this community is for electing the first trans person to this
Yeah.
seat. And it was like the
Yeah.
first trans in
Fucking so
in
annoying.
Congress. And less than a year later, guess who's up on
Yeah.
charges? And
Oh,
I
isn't it wild that like these sexual proclivities like lead to degenerate behavior?
it's I mean that's beyond degenerate. Like
Yeah.
I've been a degenerate in my
Evil
life. You've been a degenerate in
is
our life.
evil.
Yeah. That goes long past any degeneracy,
They want to
yeah.
argue that there's no sexual implications with these things. You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
they just want to use the bathroom of their choice. Like, no, they want to go to the bathroom and look under the stalls.
I mean, there's there's a there's a lot of good reading out there, and on this subject specifically, and it does not take long to realize, yeah, one, again, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's probably a fucking duck. That
Or a
it does not
tranny.
take. It does not. It does not take a fucking neuroscientist to figure out the, like you said, the implications of where this leads. And it's like the mental gymnastics involved to rationalize this is so much crazier and so much more than just calling it what it is, which is unacceptable in developed modern Western society. Like
Yeah.
let's just fucking call it what it is, guys.
Yeah.
And it goes in. Did you see the segueing probably to the last topic? Did you see Carmelo's tape of the actual incident
No,
was
I
released?
didn't. I
Yeah, it was
didn't.
it's like the overhead shot
Oh, I didn't
from.
know there was actual video of it.
Yep, yep, yep. Now
Oh,
I know there's a
wow.
couple angles, and the one that is released right now is probably the least detailed
Uh-huh.
angle, we'll say, which is irritating in itself because there's only so many things you can pull from it, but it is enough, and it is of the actual incident and the tent and all, and the leading up to who was going to the tent and when Carmelo got there, all of that. Like it has enough of it in there, and
I'm kind
it's
of
just
surprised he got as much time as he did, or that he like. I guess there hasn't been sentencing yet, but like, I'm kind of surprised that it went down the way it did.
really. I mean,
Yeah,
they
I am. Like,
sentenced him to
not that I
35.
mean, not that I'm saying that I think he was innocent or that I don't think he deserves to fucking
Yeah,
spend the
sure.
rest of his life in prison. I thought that like the racism aspect of it, racism, was going to play a bigger role in the case than it actually did. And like as far as I remember, like the jury kind of like only convened for very little time. Like it
4 hours,
was
I think.
4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they were basically right away, just like this guy's fucking guilty, you know?
Because, well, so to your point, I don't disagree that um, I'm surprised that the attempts, because there were plenty of attempts, there still are plenty of attempts to pull the race card, and
Hmm.
pull the
I mean,
fucking.
dude, there was like totally curated like um pockets of resistance and pockets of protest like outside the trial. Like
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
family was I'm sure you saw this, but like his family was outside the trial. They had like an easy up set up where they were all
Hmm.
like kind of hanging out and they had their signs up and they're screaming about racism and blah blah blah. And then like what some white reporter comes over and kind of like stands next to their tent and they start throwing bottles at him and running him off, which is like
Yeah.
exactly what they're arguing. They're
Yeah.
arguing that he was allowed to sit there and do it, and it's like, as soon as they do it to you, you're allowed to throw water bottles at him and say
Yeah.
call him every name in the book because, we're the blacks and we're allowed, extra rights compared to you evil whites.
Well, that's the hypocrisy that I think has, and not to I don't know, add fuel to the fire in this situation, but uh, with this term, but the fatigue, there
Yeah.
is a legit fatigue
Oh, there is. That's why I
that
live in
has
Idaho, buddy.
that has
That's why I live in
taken hold.
Idaho. There's no need for fatigue up here because they're not around.
That's funny. Again, well, it was it's the clear hypocrisy of a specific like mindset. Now, to the point of any of my friends who happen to be black, the military is full of all
Sure.
demographics out there. the first ones that will say that I will repeat what I'm repeating now, um, are all of my black friends. They're like, "The fatigue is real," like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
They'll say this and that. Like, like,
It's
a lot
that
of them
dude,
will respond.
it's that Chris Rock joke. I love
Which one?
black people, but I hate niggas.
But maybe it's, not Chris Rock then. There was one of them where it's like, yeah, he's black, obviously. I thought it was Chris Rock, where he's like, "Yeah, the first thing I did as soon as I made money was move away from all the black
Yeah,
people." It's like,
exactly. I think that was Chappelle.
was it Chappelle? Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
was
think that
probably
was
Chappelle then, yeah.
Chappelle. He lives in
But
Ohio, you know?
well, all of the responses, because I've seen, like, after the sentence, like, "Oh my god, I don't know what am I gonna tell my sons now? I have 5 sons, what am I gonna tell my sons?" And, like, immediate cuts to, like, a black commentator who's like, "Tell them to stay in school. Tell them
Yeah,
not to stab people. Tell them not
yeah.
to be violent to the smallest
Tell
inconvenience.
them to stay away
Explain."
from blacks if at all possible.
It's one of these. Now, again, back to, like, statistics and demographic statistics and all of those things, like, it just facts are facts, and if this is what the numbers are reporting, then an actual conversation has to happen, And
Yeah,
again, I've had this conversation with, like I said, plenty of my black friends, and a lot of them are like, to be honest, we were raised in white neighborhoods.
yeah.
Our parents were like,
Uh-huh.
quote
And dude,
unquote,
like,
textbook
I shouldn't
uncle.
have to say this, like, I'm against slavery. Like, that's not a, you know,
That's
controversial
oh my
thing to say.
gosh,
Like,
Nick, I never would have
I
guessed.
should never, normal people should never have to say this, but like the fact that slavery existed however many years ago does not mean that you can act the way you're acting today. It does
Right.
not give you a free pass to be chaotic and just out of control and have like no emotional fucking you know
Intelligence at all about
control.
it. Yeah,
like
control, yeah.
like you can't just act the way you're acting because slavery happened to your ancestors. Like that's
Well,
not a free pass to act the way you're acting.
and very few would, I think, even articulate that themselves. But the thing that they have never had a problem and I say they, gosh, guys, like, go ahead, clip everything that Nick and I are saying
Yeah.
this fucking episode, because it's gonna be great for rage bait. I
Yeah, yeah.
guarantee you, it's
Oh,
gonna be great.
I dropped the F bomb a couple times and I'm not talking about the word fuck.
It's gonna be great, guys. I really invite you to do it, especially if this is your first time on the Scuttlebutt,
Yeah, yeah.
and the amputee and the alien
Yes,
crossovers
sir.
here. But this is one of those things where it's like you'll never find a shortage of victim mentalities
Hmm.
on across cultures, specific cultures to be exact.
Hmm.
And yes, in this, I
Dude,
mean,
I could like
in
as
the
like an
states is very true.
amputee, I could be playing the victim on so many different
Of
things, you know.
disabled,
Uh-huh.
disability
I'm
this or whatever, right?
disabled and I'm marginalized because of my
Yep.
disability and blah 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 blah. Like I don't
Yep.
act any different because I fucking lost my hand.
Because you don't have that mental. Yeah.
Society should not have to cater to me because I made a mistake at work.
Yeah. But you don't have the victim mentality that we're describing here. And
Mhm.
that's the difference that, a lot of my buddies, will describe to me, they're like, yeah, I mean, my parents were, put us in like a predominantly like white neighborhood or
Yeah.
like white, community or culture. Like we were raised in this. And the thing that I would notice amongst anybody, who I then associated or became friends. This is my friend who is black who's telling me this.
Mhm.
I don't want to drop his name necessarily, but I have in the previous Patreon taps, guys. So if casuals want to go into there,
Sure.
you'll know what his name is.
Figure it
Anyways,
out.
he's
Figure it out
he's
yourself. Do some
yeah,
work.
he's one of those guys who's always like ready to have a conversation with me, and it and it was funny, like when we first like started talking about certain things, he was just like, dude, you can just say it, it's cool. And I was like, no, 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 that's not what I'm saying here. That's not. He's like, no, it's cool, dude. But anyways, he was like, yeah, we were raised this way, and the first thing that I noticed amongst like a lot of these other guys that were black and trying to like convince me of or tell me I was
Mhm.
wrong for or telling me I was an Uncle Tom for this or
Yeah.
that was that all of them have that like why everything, like I'm owed this that the other. He's like, and he was I don't remember how old he said he was, but he was like it was a young age where I realized like, my parents didn't have that, and
Mhm.
now I'm like a functioning member of society.
Yeah.
That's
Dude,
It's like the easiest thing to point to.
I
And if
lived
your
in a black
parents,
neighborhood in San Francisco for a couple years, and,
mm,
like, I had a dirt bike with street tires on it that I was riding around, um, San Francisco at the time, and, like, you had to walk on eggshells as being the minority in a black neighborhood. So, there was, like, I smoked cigarettes at the time, and there was, like, a liquor store right down the street from my house. And I remember one night I went into this liquor store to buy cigarettes, and I came out, and there was this black dude sitting on my motorcycle, and he's
Mm,
like surrounded by his friends, and he's like just sitting on my bike, and
yeah,
instantly like I get enraged. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
What the fuck?
get the fuck off my bike. Like, what are you doing? But the fact that I'm like living in a black neighborhood and I have to walk on eggshells around these
Mm.
people, uh, coded racism,
Clip it, guys. Clip it. It's right
coded
here.
racism.
One hour
I
and
had
30.
to go up to the guy and be like cool with him and like get him to just get off my bike. And it's like, dude, if it, like if you're raised right, you would never fucking like who would do that? Who
Yeah,
would just go
you're
and
not going
sit on
around.
somebody's bike outside of a liquor store? Like it's so disrespectful. It's so ridiculous. And yet like I have to be, like, hey man, how are you? Like, oh, it's a cool bike type of thing, and
Mhm.
defuse the situation because if I go out there and say, get the fuck off my bike, what are you doing? I
Yeah,
get beat up.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, if you're lucky, you'll get beat up. I mean,
Yeah.
that
I
was
might get
the
shot.
stabbed in the heart, like
Sure. Like
because that was
it's just crazy that like I had to be the one to like defuse the situation at that point because like some asshole is fucking sitting on my bike because he wasn't raised right to know that you don't touch other people's things.
yeah, right. Well, it's also a dominance thing, right? Because
And
he
then I
he
also
can,
have to worry about him knocking it over when he gets
yeah,
off of
and
it
damaging
because he
it.
doesn't
Yeah,
know what he's doing. He's drunk,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
on crack or whatever it is. Like, this is just a fucking low life loser. You know what I mean? And like now I'm in a position where my shit is going to be damaged because you don't know how to act in civilized society.
Well, I know you're familiar with Thomas Sowell. Have you
Yeah.
ever read his Ethnic
No.
America by chance? That one goes into specific like family rights and the like where a lot of these for lack of a better term like ghetto actions and ghetto
Yeah.
like um what's behaviors come from.
Thug life.
And yeah, yeah, exactly. Where a lot of that stems from, that it's just good. It's just nice to have like a word that like synthesizes and can trace, in a very articulate way, very simple articulate way. It all goes back to like that honor code, that
Yeah.
honor system of like those early days, and that's white, black, or otherwise. A lot of these, actually a lot of them even stem further back to like the Italian honor systems, and like even further back from that, why the Middle East is so fucked up. A lot of the honor codes that
Mhm.
that the Middle East, prior to
Yeah.
us leaving that
And
area,
and here's
stemmed from.
another problem. I saw a comment on a YouTube video the other day where like this black person was getting arrested and they're screaming, call my mama. And somebody commented, notice how they always say call my mama and never my father? Your
Oh
father would
Jesus
have
Christ!
taught you that you don't sit on somebody else's bike just because it's parked where you're hanging out. Like that's
Yeah,
something that a father fucking teaches you. You know what I mean?
I mean a good one, right?
Yeah, a good one, a
Because
present one.
yeah,
Like you don't touch other people's shit. That's just
well,
how, and it goes back to that Cartnarks guy where he's throwing fucking magnets on somebody's car. Like, I
mm,
don't care if it damages or not. Don't touch other people's things. Keep your
mm.
hands to yourself.
Sure. Yeah. That's a good that's a good bob and weave right back. That's a
Yeah,
good callback there. That's
yeah.
not, that's not, I appreciate, it's again, it's just, I don't know, man. It's unfortunate that this is, because I would love, like when you talk about like dirt bikes, or we get into like the shit talking about the latest meme, or the latest, or when we talked about Project Hail Mary. Like I would love if that was legit all that there was to cover on the show.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
the fact that it's not, and let's be honest, like if this
This
is
is real shit that people are dealing with every fucking day.
all that, exactly, and it's like it's a shame, more than
Yeah.
anything else. It's just like, why can't it just be Project Hail Mary, and let's add, and I don't know, man. Part of it's like, yeah, I want to check out sometimes, like the politics stuff, but it's also like then I get upset when people say that they're checking out. It's like, you don't want to take like your community, your
Yeah.
future, your how much taxes you pay seriously, or anything like that. It's
Yeah.
like, so yeah, that does, and that's why I don't check out. But it's just, I wish this wasn't the case, that we were able to check out, in the fact that if I'm not a politician, or I'm not, just like I'm not a judge, or a fucking police officer or anything, I wish that everyone was so goddamn good at their job that nobody, no Karens, nobody else had any shit to say about it,
Yeah.
so that we could just cover the things that we are passionate, or we are
Yeah.
experts in. Like that would just be fucking awesome, wouldn't it?
It
That
would.
would just be fucking
It
awesome.
absolutely would. but
Sure.
like we live in a messy world, you
Yeah.
know. Uh
Yeah. Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
these one of the YouTube channels that I follow is this guy named the Civil Rights Lawyer, and he goes through like police videos and kind of highlights corrupt cops and everything. And
Mm,
he likes to say, our rights don't end where your fear begins. Freedom is scary, deal with it, you know? And
absolutely.
like, yeah, we
Here,
live in
here.
a world where freedom is scary, but like freedom is being curtailed at every fucking level, and we're just sinking further and further into an authoritarian hellscape where like,
Mm,
if I go out and some guy's sitting on my bike and I clock him in the face, I get arrested, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah. And
We're
it's
like in
it's
a proper society, that would be the answer to somebody sitting on your bike. You fucking punch him in the face, you throw him off, and you say, "Get the fuck off my bike. What the fuck is wrong with you?" But instead, I have to be, walking on eggshells over a situation like this. It's not right. It's not fucking fair. Life isn't fair. I get that, but like in a just society, shit like that wouldn't just happen.
well, see, and as you're saying that, I'm slightly disagreeing with you in terms of
Okay.
like that is well, it's not anything big. It's so that I can make the ultimate point, which is,
In a
you know what?
personal responsibility society, like
Well, sure, sure.
that
Well,
kind of
what
shit
I was gonna
doesn't happen.
well, bringing it back to like father's present in the household. It's like as I'm disagreeing, it's because my dad already did that to me as a kid. The
Yeah,
first time you fuck up, he grabs you by your arm, he throws you, 10 feet or
yeah,
whatever it is, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're, whatever it is, you're
yeah.
acting
I got in
incorrectly.
trouble when I was a kid for drawing, markings in the dust on my dad's truck. You don't do
Smacks you in the
that.
back of the
That'll
head. Yeah.
fucking scratch it. You don't fucking do that,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. Exactly. And the fact that it comes to the point where you now need as the person who owns the bike needs to be that person of correction at whatever 30 years old.
Yeah.
Like that's the sign of the times. That's the perfect
Yeah.
example
And
of
this
the
guy's in his
erosion of
40s or
ours.
50s. It's not some fucking 15-year-old kid who doesn't know any better. This is
Yeah,
somebody
right.
who's like gone through life thinking that they can just do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, it's well, and it is part of the again, it's quintessential erosion of the value, the moral system, the philosophy, the foundation. Now again, say what you will. Oh my God, you're a Christian nationalist now. You know what? The more that I am reading and watching and paying
Yeah, it's
attention,
not a terrible idea.
you guys, you're really not helping your case right now, okay?
Yeah.
For progressives and everything.
Yeah.
Like, somebody gave me, like a book recommendation, and you know me, this was a little while ago, but uh, you know me, I read it front, cover to cover, and I was like, you know what? That was the worst possible book you could give me that was going to side with you on this anti-abortion, sentiment, because that's what it was. It was about they were like, oh well, you should read this book by these two female journalists. I was like, okay, so I did, front to back. Not a single case about biology in there. Not a single thing about historical precedents. All it did was track how Trump was bad and
Yeah.
how Trump was leading to, you know, reproductive,
Yeah.
whatever conclusion they were trying to give me, which was reproductive, that abortion was good and that people should have access to abortion. And again, by and large, I could even agree with you on that part as somebody who thinks everybody should be able to make their own decisions, including murder at the end of the day. But if you're going to then set up like someone who is built in philosophical logic an argument against me, and I'm trying to entertain both sides, guess who's giving me sound logical reasoning? The anti-abortion side, not the
Yeah.
abortion side. So it's like
And dude, like
I don't.
our country was founded on Christian ethics, and they kind of assumed when they, wrote the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution that like our country was going to continue to be a Christian country. So they didn't add things that they felt like didn't needed to be added because they were just, kind of granted as like
Yeah,
this is how a Christian society would fucking operate, you know?
yeah. And what I enjoy, especially like Locke, I love Locke's like
Mhm.
a lot of his papers, a lot of his essays on a lot of these, specifically on religion, right? One of the thing that always sticks out to me in a lot of these like founding documents is to that effect. Yeah, a lot of the like assumptions, but is the because of the like not even vagueness, but like a lot of the reasoning, I guess, is so like concrete and definitive that you don't need to expound on specifics. Like you don't have to label it as like, oh, this is the Christian. This
Mhm.
needs to be where we go from here because let's just thought experiment, entertain it. all right, we want to be inclusive to all religions, and that's like part of the whole idea behind, First Amendment, right? Is doesn't matter the religion, whether it is Christian or otherwise, you have the ability to practice. Let's go ahead and continue that logical thought. When does it become an issue, right? And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, yeah, I think
Rape
if you are
gangs.
exactly, exactly, if you are
That's when it
Muslim,
becomes an issue.
exactly, if you are Muslim, or if there's a new religion, spaghetti monster religion, right? If you are X, Y, and Z religion, I want the space and the legal framework to exist to protect you, to explore whatever that thought is. Again, if it's spaghetti monster to, you know, praying 4 times a day. Is it 3 or 4 times a day for
I don't know.
Muslim? I
I
think it's
don't know.
four.
Yeah.
In any
Too
case,
many.
I haven't read the Quran in a while. I just open it up anytime I want to
Yeah, yeah.
fact check something. But case in point, if that's what it is, and it's absolutely keeping you happy and keeping you productive member of society, then by all means do it. The moment when it becomes an issue, and the moment when I'm like, well, I think, yeah, the moral framework that we should be leaning on is the one where we're not raping kids. To
Mhm.
exactly your point, Nick. I mean, if you're saying that your prophet was marrying a 9-year-old, okay, if that's just your religious book
If
and
your
that's where it
religion
stops,
says that raping kids is okay, it's not a good religion. Sorry.
well,
Not
again,
sorry.
even if it does say that, even if it does say that in the little book, and then you, just like, our founding documents, start adding amendments and start saying, yeah, you know what, that's crazy, but or that was a different time, that was crazy, but we have grown since Sodom and Gomorrah time frame, and
Mhm.
therefore we're going to, yeah, we want to be gay, but we only want to be gay with 18 and above. You know what? I'm going to listen to you and take you a lot more seriously than the alternative, which, by the way, I
Yeah.
found this guy's
And I
name,
mean,
the
like gay
Stacy.
shit is like young boys is kind of a function of gay
Oh.
communities, you know?
Well, don't get me started on the flags,
And
the
not just
LGBT
gay
rainbow, and
communities, like you got a quinceanera where you got a 15-year-old girl and the local
celebrating.
community decides that this woman is now is sexually available. Like there's
Oh,
problems with that as well, Like
there
this
is
is
problems, yeah.
crazy.
Well, see, track the history of it. Be honest about it. Record demographic, ethnicities. UK, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, take accountability and write shit down. Be honest about shit, and don't. Oh my god, that hurts my feel. Fuck your feel. I don't give a
Mhm.
fuck about how that made you feel.
Mhm.
I saw a video the other day of a guy who saw a double fucking rainbow and started crying. Okay, good for fucking him. That doesn't make me cry, and I don't give a shit. I
Yeah.
don't have to cater to his double rainbow tears just because he has feelings that are very strong that day. Okay,
Yeah.
fuck you. This transgender Republican Stacy Lawton was New Hampshire, by the way. I just didn't want to smear New Jersey or Rhode Island. Sorry, guys, you're all in that little imaginary states that are like neighborhoods up there. But New Hampshire, they sentenced him to 33 years for sexual exploitation of children. If you guys want to read into the specifics of it, knock yourselves out. It's disgusting. And if you see the picture of the person, I responded in the comment on Twitter with the Fry from Futurama. I'm shocked, shocked. Well, not that shocked. If you just take one look at this motherfucker with their rainbow mask
Yeah.
on and morbidly obese, balding, quote unquote, balding head
Mhm.
that is quote unquote a female that has changed his name to Stacy. I'm shocked that he was interested in, like you said, the very, let's not even textbook. Let's say the notorious. We'll say the group that is notorious for always being interested in underaged individuals, underage children. Yeah, let's call a spade a spade. Let's
Yeah.
call a duck a duck. All right,
It
and
happens.
the demographics and the data and the statistics around these conversations don't lie. Now, if I'm being insensitive to, whatever your
Deal
proclivities or
with
anything
it.
else,
Deal with it,
I really don't care,
Like, deal with it. Fuck you. Like, this is a problem in your community. Fucking police it or deal with it.
I tell you, I mean, I come from a big family. You touch anyone in my family,
Yeah, you're
or
fucked.
my friend's family,
You're fucked.
I don't care what law says. I don't care what is morally justified, or or not morally justified. What is considered societally acceptable?
Mhm.
I am morally justified. All right, and
Yeah.
I will sleep
Dude,
soundly
I
at
say
night.
all the time, like, I'm not a fan of, like, capital punishment, but if Alex Rosen's, like, 6'4", 320 pounds. If he tears your head off when you show up to rape a
Tamika,
13-year-old girl, I have
yeah,
0 moral qualms with that.
I agree. Yeah, because I've seen enough of those
That guy
videos.
should be able to kill all of those people.
He's
You
got
know.
you dead to rights. Yeah, there's no, and a lot of them are like fucking repeat offenders
Hmm.
that are out on, like on
That should
probation
never
or
be in the
whatever.
free world to begin with.
I
He caught a
there
guy
are
the other day. So this guy, he raped like a an 11-year-old in Washington in 1995, and he's back out on the streets, doing it again, messaging young kids. So he got this person to travel to northern Idaho instead of Washington, and now this motherfucker is going to spend the rest of his life in prison rather than like getting the key to the
oh,
city in Washington.
because Washington would
Hmm.
let him go,
Washington would
whereas
just let him go.
I
Fuck it.
know.
Who cares?
Yeah, I just it when is enough enough? I mean, I said it with Epstein. I mean, there has to be a breaking point. And what's also scary about it is, again, this is honestly, I mean, as someone who is a student of history, and I
Mhm.
try to be as well read, especially now as I'm aging. History has never been my strong suit. It's never like I was always a science guy.
Yeah, me too.
But as I've aged, history has become more interesting, and I have started to like explore it a lot more. A lot of give credit where it's due. Sewell and Clancy and a lot economics. Is where I'm going with this is kind of like made it mandatory reading kind of a thing,
Mhm.
required readings, where it's like, oh yeah, where did this group where did this group start? Where did this trend start?
Yeah.
And
Man,
so
I've
on
got
and
a
so
good
forth, right?
history book for required reading, but I
I
had
love it. I
something
love it. I
else.
was
I
kind of
had
segueing.
something
I'm
else
glad you picked
planned
it.
for required reading tonight, so maybe I'll do the history book at a different night.
We'll do, yeah. I was gonna say we can do all of the above, man. Because
Yeah, I
guess
can do
what?
it.
We don't
Here,
have any fucking rules on this
I can do
show.
it.
We
We'll
do
do
what the fuck
we'll
we
do
want.
required reading, and then I'll do my TED Talk. All right,
Hell yeah,
so
hell yeah.
this is the Politically Incorrect Guide to American History by Tom Woods. So Tom Woods
Woods, yes,
is
yes.
a libertarian, very smart guy. He's a PhD history guy from Harvard, and it's a really good book. There's the section on Roosevelt is really good about like the depression and price controls and how like there's this line that like Roosevelt kind of like saved America from the depression. In reality, he made things much fucking worse. So yeah, dude,
Hmm.
the Politically Incorrect Guide to American History. And also him and Michael Malice did a cartoon series about this book on YouTube. So you can search the Politically Incorrect Guide to American History, and you get Michael Malice and Tom Woods. They do like a short video for every chapter on it, and
That is.
and in most videos, like because Michael Malice is funny, Tom Woods ends up wearing a dress for some reason.
I can already tell just by who's involved. It's going to be entertaining. I
Yeah,
mean, you put
it's good.
Malice, then you put Woods,
Yep,
because you gave me a couple recommendations. I mean, you've been giving me recommendations, and Woods has come up a couple times.
yep.
I started exploring his previous work,
Very
and it
smart
was
guy. Great
absolutely.
podcast. Great
Absolutely. I
podcast.
was
The
going to say the
Tom Woods
podcast
Show.
was where,
Yep,
I think is what you recommended me the
yep,
first time you brought him up. It was him and Scott Norton,
yep.
and so I started exploring from there. And
Yep, the
very
Tom Woods
very well
Show.
spoken guy.
Great fucking podcast. The guy's really smart, really on
Oh yeah,
top of it.
I completely
Like
agree.
he was one of the time. So like when I first got into this like political type of shit, and like I got introduced to like anarchism, like you see Tom Woods and you're like, wait a minute, this guy's an anarchist. Like Tom Woods is like a hardcore Catholic. Like
Mhm.
how does that fucking work out? But he's the man. Tom's
But
the
he does it.
man.
I completely agree, and agree with the recommendation.
Yep.
Anything from him, that everybody should pick up.
Yep.
I'm still working through that fucking series. I'm on book 5 of the 6 of the Red Rising series, so I don't
Mm,
have another required
okay.
reading today for anybody outside of, if you haven't read it. I'm going to give you an asterisk to the required reading because he's coming out with the 7th one,
Oh,
and so
excellent.
if
I haven't started Red Rising yet. I have it.
because you're a
I
sci-fi
have
guy,
it. Yeah.
that's why I want to give you the
Yeah.
asterisk.
I
Go
have it
ahead.
in I have it in my Audible queue. Like I already bought the book. I just
Oh
haven't
shit, yeah.
started it
Okay.
yet.
Well, then if you're like me, which we're friends, I think you are, similar when it comes to reading. Read the first, like if you're going to explore the series, read the first one. If you love the last quarter of it, finish the first 3, the trilogy.
Okay.
And then from what I've gathered thus far, as much as I have enjoyed, parts of it, as much as I really love my buddy who recommended it to me, and I'm glad that he and I can like talk about this and that about it, I would not recommend the back 3, and I don't know if I will be reading the 7th one. That's all I'm going to say from that's the asterisk to it. So the first 3, go ahead, knock it out if you really, really enjoyed the
Okay.
first one. If you didn't, read the first one. Is pretty self-contained that you don't really need to go after, further than that. But
All right.
that's my asterisk to it.
Well, I think we're at an hour 54. I can do my TED talk on the next podcast.
Yeah, do you want to hit it for Patreon? We could just do the after party for it. And
If
I
you
could just
want
throw it in
to,
there.
it's up to you.
I'm
This
down.
is going to be fun. I think you're going to like this.
You teased me too much.
Okay.
Like you
All right,
can't foreplay it
Let's
up.
do
So
it.
what
I
we'll
have
say
time,
is,
so like I'm good to go.
yeah.
As long as
Well,
you
the
are.
wife, like I said, is gone. So I
Okay,
don't
perfect.
have anything
Okay.
to do right now.
So let's
Let me-
start this with a question.
Well, before you do,
Okay.
let's go ahead and wrap up the main show and cheers everybody, right? And let them know
Yep.
whatever language you prefer. Cheers, pros, skull, Gombe. We will see you on the next one. And if you want to continue this conversation, hop over to Patreon. We'll be behind the VIP curtain over in the after party show, aka Taps. As always, don't kill the messenger.
I timed my drink perfectly. Just finished it now.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to start this with a question. Have you ever read Stephen King?
Yes, not all of his work. I
Okay.
read It, I read Misery, and I read Cujo.
Okay, so I have had a conspiracy theory about Stephen King for quite a while, and this basically stems from his Twitter account. I don't think that Stephen King ever wrote any of those books.
Okay.
I think that he was a figurehead for an intelligence, operation to propagandize Americans into being afraid, essentially. And I got this idea based on his. Have you ever seen his Twitter before?
Yeah, I mean, I have seen
He is
parts
your
of it.
typical
lib.
shit lib boomer. Like
Yeah,
there's
100%.
he doesn't tweet anything like that makes you think, or like here, I'm gonna read a couple of them. Trump is so idiotic, it is beyond description, even for a guy who wrote Pet Sematary and Misery. I can't even. The question now is how many Republicans will follow Trump over the cliff like lemmings? Like, this is not the best writer in our fucking generation. You know what I mean?
I don't think he ever was. Was anybody making that argument?
I don't know. Like,
'cause if
that's
they
kind
were,
of
they
the
were
way that
retarded.
I was thought of Stephen King is like, he's this prolific writer that fucking writes these incredible books and they're so scary and blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
I didn't know that he wrote any science fiction. So I came across one of his books a couple weeks ago and I was like, oh, interesting. Like, it's a science fiction book. I bet this will be good. I'm going to read it.
Dark Tower?
No, it was called The Tommy Knockers.
Okay.
It was a
I'm familiar
terrible
with that one.
book. It sucked. Like,
I
it
never
wasn't
was a
scary.
fan of him.
It wasn't scary at all. Like,
Yeah.
it was just a bad book. And it really reinforced my belief that he never wrote these fucking books. So I went on to Grok and I was like, hey, Grok, let's assume that Stephen King never wrote these books and it was intelligence operation to scare and propagandize people. Give me some evidence as to why this would have happened and like
hell yeah.
where it was, right? So, okay. So
Love this.
here we go. This is a fun conspiracy hypothetical, shadowy government agency, blah, blah, blah. So then it gets into like predictive programming and desensitization. Governments or intel agencies have long used media to prime populations for future events, making them seem less shocking when they happen. King's works are packed with themes that could soften public resistance. Pandemics and social collapse. The Stand. A government-engineered superflu wipes out most of humanity. This could normalize fear of bioweapons, quarantines, or emergency powers expansions. Number 2. Government experiments on citizens. Firestarter, the Institute. Secret agencies like the Shop test psychic kids or create superhumans. Mirrors real programs like MK Ultra. Plants the idea that such things exist but are just fiction while building distrust or fascination with authority. Number 3, small town paranoia and hidden evils. Salem's Lost. Normal people uncover monstrous conspiracies. This could encourage conspiracy thinking as entitlement or as entertainment. I need to move this closer. Sorry.
You're good.
Discrediting real whistleblowers as cracks. Like and also like hey, don't stay in your small town where you have a family and you have roots and you have a community. Move to the city where everything's better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This one really stood out to me. Trump like demagogues, the dead zone. A clairvoyant sees a populist politician leading to disaster. Written in 1979, it eerily parallels later events, perfect for shaping perceptions of populism years in advance.
Okay.
And just so happens that we have a
Yeah.
populist president right now, and Stephen King is one of his major critics on Twitter, even though
Uh-huh.
he can't write anything that is in any way profound. It's just normal shit lib slop.
Hmm. I
Hmm.
love this conspiracy thus far.
Yes. Okay. So
So
you want me
go
to
go
keep
on, go on.
going or do you
Yeah,
want to
you go
jump
go
in?
on, go on.
Okay.
No, go on,
Okay.
go on.
Number two.
I want all the
Yes.
info right now.
Yes. Yeah. Cultural and ideological shaping. King's output humanizes certain narratives while demonizing others. Fear of the other versus ordinary Americans. Many stories pit regular folks against cosmic governmental horrors. This could foster quiet nationalism or suspicion of institutions while distracting from policy failures. Normalization of surveillance, trauma, and the uncanny. Books explore mind control, alternate realities, and hidden powers. In a PSYOP context, this might prepare society for tech like mass data collection, psychological ops, or even crisis actors by framing them as plausible fiction. That's interesting, right? Because we
Yeah.
have crisis actors all over the goddamn place. Anti authority with a safety valve. Heroes often rebel against corrupt systems, but the focus stays personal slash psychological rather than calling for systemic revolution. It channels discontent into escapism. The single author like King, a single author like King provides a relatable, productive persona, blue collar roots, family man, anti censorship voice who churns out content at superhuman speeds. Real world theories already joke about him being a writing consortium, a
Hmm.
consortium. Financial and influential and influence ops. Monetize control. Bestsellers generate revenue, fund black budgets, and launder influence. Hollywood adaptations amplify reach. Test narrative penetration. Track how ideas spread via book sales, fan theories, and memes. King's universe has interconnected elements. The shop as a recurring shadowy agency, creating a self-reinforcing mythos. Counter or speed real conspiracies. Flood the zone with horror tinged versions of real events, JFK, government cover ups, to muddy waters. Real truths get lumped in with Pennywise the clown. Broader PSYOP mechanisms. PSYOPs thrive on storytelling. Fiction engages emotions deeper than dry reports. Using one prolific face avoids suspicion of coordinated propaganda. King's pace, dozens of novels, allows rapid response to cultural shifts. His public persona, vocal on politics, Twitter feuds, adds authenticity while steering discourse. Of course, this is all speculative fiction on top notch fiction. In reality, King is a genuine writing machine. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Mhm.
So, this book that I read called The Tommy Knockers, this entire fucking book is anti-nuclear energy propaganda. The entire thing. So like the main character of the book has this like axe to grind with nuclear energy, and this is written like in the 80s. So like reading it now is kind of crazy because like all of the propaganda that the main character is spouting throughout the book has like completely proven to not be true. So it really like kind of hits
Like
homes in a lot of ways.
okay, yeah.
I can keep going. There's more about the specific book. Um,
Yeah. We're in it. So I'm just
Go
like
ahead and respond, and then I'll get into its notes on this book in general.
so like for Tommy Knockers, for example. Again, I never was a fan of Stephen King. I read it when I was growing up because my mom did. And so a lot of the library books that or a lot of the books that were in like our family library were from my mom because my dad did not read that
Uh
much,
huh.
so he only threw like the classics in there. So when I was younger, obviously, what's more entertaining to me other than, like paperback fiction. So it was like Dean Koontz, Stephen King, VC Andrews, that kind of stuff was what my mom filled the
Uh-huh.
library with, and that's the only reason I read. And I think it was Misery I read first. It was Cujo or Misery. I want to say it was Misery. And I was like, eh, like, and I was young enough to not like see all the flaws in it.
Yeah.
And then when I was older, I read it and I saw all of the flaws. And I was like, what the fuck is
Yeah.
everybody on about? This is such like, oh my God, he's such a good writer. No, he's really not.
No, and
And
it wasn't
and
even scary. Like the book wasn't scary at all. I was expecting it. Like I was expecting good things because I thought Stephen
yeah.
King was this like prolific writer that put out great shit. And it was
When
just
somebody
like a bad book.
Yeah, when people are like, when they keep recommending, like, oh my God, this is when I read it here, and this is when it got me, and this is this. I was like, it's almost like it's not that you like credit somebody's opinion after that, but you almost are like take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Next time they give
I
you a
think
recommendation,
it's the
you're like,
idea of Stephen King that gets these people fired up rather than the actual content of the stories.
which is which is why I'm like interested in this. So putting it out, putting it at face value is I love conspiracy theories. I will entertain spaghetti
Yeah.
monster to the end of time. I do
Mhm.
not give a fuck.
Birds
Okay.
aren't real.
And speaking of which, anybody who's listening right now obviously knows as much. So Chris Scrat, Zaya, Tragedy Academy, Joe Square, Dirk, Sheila, Vincent, Heath and Jamie, Nick, Karen, Aurora, Cord, Borealis, Shy, Kyle, and Chuck. We love the fuck out of each and every one of you guys. I love that you're I don't have to preface any of this with you guys, so I'll stop doing that now because you know that I love to entertain these things. I love so where did it start? Because wasn't he able? Wasn't like his first book? Wasn't it tracked like where he went and like how much like poverty and everything that he was in? He was like, fuck it, this is my one attempt. I'm gonna sell it, and then didn't make that much, but made enough to be like, let me try one more time.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
And
What,
then
let me
he
pull
wrote
up the
Cujo
wiki.
and he doesn't even remember writing it.
Well, that was like part of his string of cocaine after he had gotten famous. What was his first one? Let me pull up his while you're continuing. Let me pull up his
Sure.
like
I'll
wiki.
I'll read. So this is about the Tommy knockers in general. Okay. In the conspiracy scenario, Stephen King or the team behind him uses the Tommy knockers as a potent vehicle for anti-nuclear psyop messaging. The novel hammers home fears of nuclear energy through its protagonist, Jim Gardner, who's a piece of shit. Like the guy's just a piece of shit. A flawed alcoholic poet obsessed with, quote, the nukes. His rants dominate early sections, portraying nuclear power as a reckless, deceptive, and inevitably catastrophic. Key elements in the Tommyknockers: Gardner's crusade. He loses jobs and gets into violent fights, including one infamous umbrella assault on a pro-nuclear power man executive over the topic. He cites real incidents like 3 Mile Island, which was a total psyop. I think we've talked about 3 Mile Island on here before, how like you had a total nuclear meltdown and nobody got hurt and the thing was
Yeah,
completely contained and like absolutely nothing happened. Alleged
but it was
cover-ups.
scary. But it
Yep.
was scary, right?
Yeah, be scared. Alleged cover-ups, cancer stats, contaminated water, and mishandled radioactive waste. Which, like, I don't know if we've talked about radioactive waste, but like, they keep these things in casts that, like, these casts have been hit by trains before. Like, they put them in front of trains and smashed into them to see if they open up, and they don't. Like, these are the most safe things ever. And like, at some point, these casts aren't even gonna. They're gonna be used as fuel. Like, they're just. It's not waste, it's fuel that we haven't figured out how to utilize yet. So at some point, like we're going to be using all of this quote waste as fuel. The book presents his arguments as intellectually winning, even if his delivery is unhinged. Metaphorical horror, the buried alien ship. So like this, like in the book, they find this alien ship buried on this woman's property. And she starts to dig it up and goes crazy as she's doing it. The buried alien ship grants townspeople inventive genius and cheap energy, but causes grotesque mutations, radiation like physical changes, hair loss, teeth falling out, etc., and a loss of humanity. This directly parallels nuclear radiation poisoning and the promise of abundant power with hidden deadly costs. The Tommyknockers themselves symbolize unchecked technological hubris, much like atomic energy. Broader themes. It ties into addiction, King's own struggle at the time, corrupting power, and government/tech overreach. Nuclear obsession mirrors Gardner's inner reactor. The novel frames humanity's hunger for easy energy as a frustration bargaining, um, a Faustian bargain leading to body and soul sickness. This wasn't subtle. Contemporary readers and later analysis noted as a clear anti-nuclear attack embedded in a horror sci-fi. Why push anti-nuclear psyops? In your hypothetical government op, this serves several strategic goals aligned with the 1970s and 80s context of 3 Mile Island, Cold War arms races, Chernobyl, etc. Energy policy control. Discourage domestic nuclear expansion to keep reliance on oil/gas, easier to control geopolitically, or delay advanced clean energy that might reduce leverage. Fears, slow permitting, funding, and public support for the plants. Two, fear amplification and desensitization. Make nuclear seem inherently monstrous, invisible radiation turning people into monsters. This premise acceptance of stricter regulations, more oversight, i.e., bigger government, or shifts to alternatives that might have their own vulnerabilities. Cultural normalization of distrust. Gardner's rants blend real accidents with exaggerated horrors, blurring lines. Real concerns get mixed with fiction, making legitimate nuclear safety debates sound like conspiracy ranting or vice versa, discrediting critics. Predictive/slash conditioning elements. Written amid real debates, it could shape generational attitudes. Nuclear equals scary alien corruption. Later books like 11/22/63 with alternative timelines involving nuclear disasters reinforce the vibe. King's real world persona amplifies this. Vocal progressive who has tweeted fears about leaders with nuclear triggers. In the psyop, he's the perfect relatable mouthpiece, folksy, prolific, telling it like it is through horror.
Hmm. So, I
Case
mean,
closed.
it's just like any good conspiracy. Like, I love that the pieces can add up, if so well. Like they can fit
Mhm.
together so well like this. Where does he? How would they have found him? So as I pull up
I
his
don't know.
wiki, right? Well, well, like for example, like the Doors. Like his dad was like a fucking CIA agent
Maybe
and
he
shit, right?
wrote
Jim
one
Morrison.
book.
So was it his first? Because like
Maybe
he
he
sold his
wrote
first
one
one,
book and they
Glass
brought him
Floor.
in and was like, "Hey man, we're going to make you fucking famous and rich and just, kind of go along with it."
I need yeah, see if I'd be curious if Grok can like give some more details on his early life. Obviously it was pre-internet, so it's
I
a
can
little
do that.
harder for him. But I'd be curious like
I have
did
this
does he
thing
have any
loaded
connections
up.
in his like family or like town to similar to like Jim Morrison's dad was like a
Uh-huh.
CIA like operative. Like does he have any connections that we
I'll
could
look it up right
tie
now.
in his early life that could have led him down? Cuz that's honestly the only thing missing from what you're describing here. And
Yep.
as I'm going through his wiki, it's just like there are a lot of these like buzzwords. Now, of course, wiki has gone down a lot in the last decade, or even 2 decades. But like a lot of the buzzwords were like, he is widely known for, he is everyone knows him as, the king of horror,
Mhm.
dubbed, stuff like that. And then it's like you go into a lot of these, like, a lot of the sources, and it's like they're just citing Stephen King, hit like his books, and then they'll cite like an interview about his book or about the movie that came out. It's
Mhm.
just all like self-circling source material.
Yep.
So it's like
I've
interesting.
got
The
so
approved
Yep.
sources, so to speak.
So I just pumped into Grok. Does he have any connections to government or intelligence agencies that would foster this relationship? And it's
I love
thinking
it.
right now. So
Oh fuck
this is
yeah!
good, right?
You
Like this is
just
good.
were you hanging out in the hot tub while you were
Uh-huh.
like getting this
Well, so the
thought as you're
funny thing is
listening to
I
it?
had this theory before I read the book
Okay.
because my theory was based on his Twitter. I'm like, this guy, like his
What
he's
what if his
just
Twitter's like what if his Twitter isn't him? What if his Twitter's just like
I think it is
set up
him.
for
I think
for
it is him. I
yeah.
think that's the problem because his Twitter specifically sucks. Like
Hmm.
he's just a normal shitlib. And if you didn't know who Stephen King was, you would never pay attention to these tweets because they're just not like in any way good.
Well then
There's nothing profound about them. There's nothing that would make you think like this guy's an incredible writer. He has insights that I could never come up with, and he's able to
sure.
take these deep insights and like put them into words in a tight, succinct manner that would like make you think or make you like look at the situation in a different way. Like it's just a normal slop account. Grok says
But
nothing.
let's steelman this though, all right? So I'll
Sure.
play devil's advocate as always. Um Is that because he's not in his writing like mode? Like what I tweet and what I'm writing,
That's what Grok
two different
says.
things.
That's what Grok
Okay.
says. It says
Okay.
Twitter and literature are different mediums, and like you
Okay.
can't expect him to like be profound on Twitter when he's just like, pumping out a thought quickly. And like
Sure. Sure.
I guess, you know,
Okay.
and
Okay.
like if I hadn't read this book and like seen that the entire thing, like, dude, he brought up multiple times, like, because people lose their teeth within the book. So like
Uh-huh.
his character has like a steel plate in his head, so he's not susceptible to the,
Hmm.
brain like corruption that the same people are. So
Okay.
like he talks multiple times. He's like looking at his teeth to make sure his teeth are still in there. He's like, "Thank God I grew up in a town with fluoride in the water."
So that's what he's attributing. So the character is attributing the
Yeah.
fluoride versus his
Yeah,
steel
multiple
plate.
times. It wasn't just once that he said it. He talked about
Hmm.
fluoride in the water being a good thing multiple times.
And so again, would that be indicative that he expounds on a lot of his philosophy, his libtard philosophy in his literature when he has the time to do so versus his Twitter? And therefore he's because like, I,
When was
if
the
it was
last time he wrote a book?
good question, let me see what his last one was
You've
since
got
I
his
have his
wiki
wiki
pulled
up.
up because,
Yeah, I
like, I
have
don't
it pulled
know
up.
if he has written any recently. They haven't
I
been
mean, not
good.
his. Ooh, okay. Well, this is filmography. I don't want filmography. His last one was looks like 97. But that's an
Huh.
award for.
So he just lost it. He just lost the ability to create a great novel.
I mean, okay. Again, steel
Ran out of
manning this.
ideas. And like
Steel manning
and
this.
to be fair, like most musicians write their best music in their 20s,
Yeah.
and then it
Well,
kind
yeah,
of falls off.
artists in general, right?
Yeah,
I was gonna say the
or
same thing.
early.
Is
So
like,
like that's a fair point to bring up, that like maybe he lost it, maybe he's out of ideas. Like I could see that being a thing,
mhm.
but like I don't know,
And
man. It seems strange to me that he's just this normal shit lib, and you can't find a single tweet where you're like, "Oh, that's a good tweet."
yeah. So his last one, no, he is still writing. His last
Okay.
one was this year, The Other Worlds Than These. But
And
it's
maybe he
also
sucks now that he's not on drugs. That could be it too.
right.
You
Yeah.
know what I
Well,
mean?
I know
Like
he
to
got in
play
an
devil's
accident and was
advocate.
on drugs. Well, and again, to steelman this, um, would it also be fair to say that similar to like a lot of people, that old saying where we all start out as liberals when we're, uninformed and young, and then as we grow up, we get more conservative
I was
and
never a liberal when
educated.
I was young.
No, well, it's a
I
saying.
know
I
the
can't remember
saying. I
which.
know the saying.
I can't remember
What
which
is it like? If you're under 30 and you're a conservative, you don't have a heart. If you're over 30 and you're liberal, you don't have a brain.
brain. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of way. I can't remember the economist that first coined it,
Yeah.
but then yeah, it's taken multiple people or multiple iterations of the exact same idea. And to that point, is this not maybe a similar instance where he is like, because he's in Hollywood, he's always around like the same demographic, like he's kind of isolated himself. Maybe that's the direction his older years has now, fruited, which
Maybe.
is this, libtard
It
anti,
seems like there's a lot of evidence though that this is a psyop, right?
I like the evidence that you're
Like
pointing out. That's
Grok
why.
did a really good job of giving me good evidence on this.
I
And
also,
the one that really got me was the populist president thing.
yeah. Why is that? Why is that the sticking point?
Because
Because
like he wrote a book that has a Trump-like figure as a populist president who's evil, and now
mhm.
all of a sudden he's like one of the main critics to Donald Trump on Twitter.
I mean,
It's like
again, is that the
it's like
chicken or egg
he
situation?
exactly, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Like I guess it was bound to happen at some point, but like the fact that he wrote a book about it and then it happened and he's being like thrust into your algorithm as like one of his key, opponents. And like, dude, his tweets get a lot of traction.
Do they really?
Oh yeah.
Because again,
Like
I've seen some of them,
here, I'll
and
go to
they're
so
often
like the
like you
one
said.
here, Trump is so idiotic it's beyond description. Even for a guy who wrote Pet Cemetery and Misery, I can't even. That got 58,000 likes.
Well,
It's not a
again,
good tweet.
is it? I mean,
It's
is it
you're
any
they're
worse than any other
liking
shit
him.
tweet out there?
They're liking him. They're not liking the words in the
Right.
tweet. Does that make
Well,
sense?
no, of course. I'm again. I'm just trying to steelman as much
Yeah,
as I
yeah,
can in
no,
my own
I
brain. Because
appreciate it.
as we talk, I'm just like, okay, if I'm going to buy, just like anything else, right? Like evolution, if I'm going to, entertain a theory, then I have to see every possible like hole in it. I have
Uh-huh.
to see every angle at it. And anytime I get to the end of that where I don't have any more angles or holes, then I'm like, okay, I subscribe or I don't, right? And so for this one, it's just like I think it's more fun to find a hole that is plugged easily. And so for this, similar to like, does he have did Grok tell you like did he have any like government or
It
CIA?
says no.
It doesn't
So
have any
here I
like
can go
the
back to it. I didn't read the whole thing. Ah, shit.
oh you're good.
I can go back to my it cleared, but I can go back to my
Well,
notes.
if it says no initially, I'd be curious if there's ways to flex
Ah,
Grok
shit.
to support us, in
Yeah.
terms of like what town what town did he live in between the ages of, let's say, because have you ever heard of the SOAR program by chance?
No.
It is it recently like kind of like unlocked one of those memories for me situation where I was like, "Oh shit, that was in school, wasn't it? Oh yeah, they did have that enrichment program." That's what they called it, SOAR. And I remember and I so when I heard somebody describing it, I was like, "Oh yeah." Um I I was like, "Wait a minute. Was this something that we all kind of like just as kids like took for granted and like overlooked?" And as it turns out, if you look into the SOAR program, it kind of like looks like a recruiting or there's a lot of ways you could say. You could say they're trafficking kids. You could say that they're recruiting like kids. You could say um, that they're developing even kids into like into specific areas of expertise.
Uh-huh.
Like if they get them young enough, then they can push them into economics or STEM or government or whatever, right? Like and, so there's a lot of different avenues and hypotheses, if not theories, out there about what the program was. But a lot of public schools were a part of it, and I remember I won't say where, but like the state I was in, because I was a military kid, we moved around a lot. There was one state that did have it, and I didn't realize that that's what it was called. And I remember it being called enrichment, where they took the kids separately into this, like, hey, we're going to test your reading. Oh, you're above average. Oh, we're going to test your math. Oh, you're above average. Oh, we're going to do these like other IQ tests, this, that, the other. And why I bring that up is that only specific like demographics, only specific states. It was nationwide, but it wasn't like they were going to downtown Bronx or like downtown Alabama or it's not like they expected to find anything
Uh-huh.
in those underfunded schools, but they were using it as like, okay, well, if you have the funds to support, this is the program that we're going to put into this school to do X, Y, and Z. And I can't remember their exact like ethos, but it was like, yeah, it's like the development and evolution of intelligence or child intelligence
Yeah.
or something like that. And that was like the whole ethos of the program. Well, none of that exists. Like it completely fell off the map. It 100% looks like a CIA like something.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about the SOAR
Not.
program. And in this case, I'd be curious if
Okay.
King was in any one of those
So
towns, any
that
one of those
actually is
schools.
exactly what it's saying. So I brought it up. I brought it back up again. So it says the shop slash MK Ultra parallel. This is the strongest hook in your scenario. In
Oh shit.
Firestarter and referenced elsewhere, the shop is a shadowy, unaccountable government black ops agency running unethical experiments on civilians and children. Lot six, drugs, psychic abilities, cover ups, assassinations.
Because yeah,
It is
he was at the
wildly
70s
understood
during that.
by readers and analysts as a direct fictional stand-in for the real CIA programs like MK Ultra, which involved LSD dosing, blah blah blah. King didn't invent these fears out of thin air. He pulled from declassified history and public scandals. Church committee revelations in 1970s. In the Psyop reading, this could be interpreted in two ways: exposing real abuses by to build credibility, or vent streams so the public feels the truth is being told in fiction, normalizing the idea of secret government experiments as, quote, just horror fiction, making real leaks or whistleblowers easy to dismiss. Sounds like a Stephen King book. Similar government
Mhm.
experiment tropes appear in The Institute, Firestarter, and echoes in other works. The Tommyknockers itself has government agencies investigating the alien ship afterwards, trying to back into the same shadowy federal response.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
maybe he was an MK Ultra.
Well, I mean, he was during that. I mean, it was
He's in
perfectly
that era.
time for yeah time, and his
Exactly.
dad too. like being as I pulled up his wiki, like his dad.
It's almost like Ted Kaczynski, but fiction
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
in a way. Like
Well,
Ted Kaczynski was on the other side of the coin though, where like
like
King
he flipped
is like
instead of being
promoting the government and like
exactly,
all
yeah,
this
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Like Ted Kaczynski was on the other side where it's like this shit's fucking evil and you got to look
Yeah,
at it.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, and especially the area that apparently he like King grew up in, the Maine, Connecticut,
Yeah.
New York area. Like, yeah, he would have almost been at least geographically in the hub
Yep.
of easy access to a lot of that stuff. His
Does it
dad
does
being
it
the
say where
salesman.
in his wiki where he went to college or did he?
College. I want to say he did for a little bit. I don't know if he. Yeah, he entered University of Maine on a
Hmm.
scholarship. While there, he wrote for the student newspaper, the main campus, founded mentors and professors, participated in workshops. No, he did graduate in 1970 with a bachelor's of art in English.
Huh. I'm gonna ask Rock. Does the University of Maine
University of Maine at Orono or Orano.
have any connections to MK Ultra?
Or like similar
Yeah.
programs, because there were quite a few. MK Ultra is just the one that most people remember or that we found out about, but there's a lot of like
Uh-huh.
I do think this SOAR program was one of them. I legitimately do because a lot of people report like like a Pepto-Bismol substance that they made the kids drink at the beginning of their like enrichment period, and then a lot of them remember like blackouts where they don't remember what happened behind the curtain or in that classroom kind of a thing. It's a fucking weird little history story that be curious how many people were a part of out
Right?
there. But
And
no, a lot of public school kids like apparently were. I mean,
mhm.
just on raw number, like raw data numbers, through like how many schools they were in, how
Ooh,
long the program was operating for. Yeah, we're looking at millions of kids.
here we go. So here's where we're gonna get good again, right? In the Psyop hypothetical, this would be a juicy potential pipeline angle. Stephen King attended the University of Maine in the late 60s, early 70s, absorbs or is subtly influenced by any lingering institutional knowledge of government behavior and research programs, then later fictionalizes the shop as a stand in from the it adds a layer of plausibility. In reality, there's no
Yeah.
documented connections between the University of Maine and damn. Okay.
Let's see. Was there a
I got
professor in there?
excited
Like
there. I got excited there for nothing. I thought it was leading us into something juicy, but it says no.
see. This is why I love conspiracies
Uh-huh.
because like when I was in college, especially after I was like when I had to repeat a couple thing like because I don't know if I ever told you, but like I attended college while I was still in high school, and so when I actually got to university, I was like ahead, like I got a head start on it, and so I only had to do 2 years there to finish my 4 year,
Mm.
and in that first like 3 quarters I was there because I also was attending summer school as like I was doing summer classes as well, and I was there on track scholarship. So I had all this free time when I was repeating in those first like 3 quarters, like like I had to do literature 101 bullshit.
Ah, yeah.
In order to, I don't remember what the university like said, but they're like, yeah, we'll take all 90 of your credits or 92 of your credits, but in order to get your full 180 here, you have to do X, Y, and Z prerequisites
General
in order to
ed,
take
essentially.
Well, yeah, it's like I'm pretty sure 180 minus 90 equals 90, so I should take 90 credits for
Yeah.
this degree. And they're like, well, nah, you got to do 5 or 6 credits as only this school help. Anyways, so I was repeating, and so I had a bunch of free time because I was like, "Fuck literature! Like, here's my essay on your dumbass fucking book and your prompt of liberal arts bullshit, right?"
Yeah.
And I would go down a lot
Isn't
of
it
these
funny
rabbit holes.
that they call it liberal arts?
That's legitimately what the class was.
Yeah.
It was like
No,
literature
I have a
colon
degree
liberal
in
arts.
liberal arts.
Yeah,
Because I fucked
what a
up. I was a business major and I screwed up a couple classes and I had to transfer my
yep, yep.
my major to liberal arts in order to graduate on time.
Yeah, in order to apply
Uh-huh.
the same credits, right? Yeah.
Yep.
But that's when I first
Dude, the
found
town
the
that I
love
grew
of.
up in, like our main newspaper that we used
Mm,
to read every Sunday, like I would always get on my bike and go down to the newspaper box and grab a newspaper on
yeah,
Sundays for my parents. It was called the Press Democrat.
the press
Democrat.
Democrat.
And
Yeah.
we didn't even like we were so unaware of like the world around us that we didn't even put two and two together that like we're being propagandized with liberal bullshit in our local newspaper. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I've also been made more and more aware of, I mean, again, this is a decade old now, but the flipping. So like I mean, you're not that. But I think it was like the 50s prior to like World War II. So let's say 35. Um, the Democratic Party went through a full like revamping and revitalization, which is like more so in the 80s what we know it
They
as
went from
now.
the party of racism to the party
Yeah.
of
So
anti-racism.
they kept doing well, Republicans and Democrats, like we keep going through these like fucking cycles. And so it was just interesting to see and it just made me think of it when you're saying the
Yeah.
newspaper is like, was it part of the racist or not
Yeah.
racist Democrat?
Yeah.
Were they propagandizing you one way or the other
This
way
was in
kind
the
of a thing?
90s, so they were going in the
They were
direction that we're going
whole
in now,
yeah, yeah,
90s
exactly.
and early 2000s. Yeah.
I think it was like 82 or something. Like
Uh-huh.
maybe 75 to 80s was when they went that way, and
Yeah.
ACLU and everything started getting, where
Yeah.
it is now, Planned Parenthood, all that fucking bullshit.
Well, anyways,
But no,
I knew you'd love that theory. I knew you'd
I
get a
do,
kick out of
because
that one because
as
it's
you're
interesting.
describing,
So, like, my required reading then would be if you're like, I don't recommend that book. It was not a good book. It's not worth your time. Like,
yeah,
it sucks. But if you are going to read Stephen King, read it through this lens. Read him
mm,
through this lens and assume that he is a government plant and this is an intel op and some psyop in some sort of way, and like look for the evidence within the books, because I guarantee that Grok didn't pull everything,
right,
like these
yeah,
are only
yeah,
things that people have written about before. This is not like somebody with a mind looking at this, like looking for the evidence, because there
exactly,
was stuff in the Tommy knockers that I noticed, like the fluoride in the water, that Grok never brought up. You know what I mean?
exactly,
Because if
exactly.
nobody's written about this on Reddit or wherever else, Grok's not going to have access. It doesn't think, so it's not
Mm,
like it's looking through these books quickly and looking for evidence. This is only evidence that people have pointed out before. So,
right,
like,
right.
if you're going to read his books, read it through that lens.
Yeah. And I've noticed that as well with a lot of the AI tools. Like, I will emphasize to people, like, you have to ask certain questions. You have to ask
Yep.
certain follow-up questions.
Hmm.
You have to be the human here, because yeah, like you said, it'll just, all right, here's my summary. Here's,
Hmm.
oh, you want it in 500 words? Boom. I'll fucking take this out, imagine this, you have to specify and ask questions a certain way. And I think it is a good tool, like we're having fun here with it. But like when I was in college and first found like the love of going down, and somebody was like, "Why don't you, go journalism route?" I'm like, "Fuck you!
Yeah.
There's no desire for
That
that
would
at
have been
all.
a
I just think
terrible
this,
decision because
oh, 100%.
journalists are like,
Yeah,
can't
they're
get a
not at
job
all.
now. Like
I would have been I would have been
you're doing
ostracized,
better
dude.
journalism on your show than most journalists are
That's what
doing,
I'm saying.
like
I would have been
this
ostracized
is
immediately.
journalism in a way, what we're doing right now.
Yeah, 100%. And so when I started like going down a lot of these rabbit holes, I would do exactly what we're doing. I'd poke a hole, not even poke a hole, but I would like look at it from this angle,
Yeah.
and then I'd answer that angle. And then I'd be like, of course it bifurcated into a million other angles that I start, exploring. And then you get this really good like full picture of the iceberg of whatever question you're looking at. And I fell in love with the conspiracy theory. That's like really when it got going for me for a lot of these crazy topics, and it did open my eyes to a lot of things. We'll give credit where it's due, but like things like what is it, like the assassination of Lincoln
Mhm.
and its connection to, I want to say like JFK, like they were like born in the same day or something,
I
and then
didn't
like
know
their
that.
their assassin's name has the same amount of letters, or it has like all these weird connections. And that's when
Numerology's weird.
exactly. It has, well, it supports the is it fact or theory of the typing, the infinite monkey at the typewriter
Mhm.
situation, where it's like, yeah, we are looking at, especially when you look back at history, you're looking at a huge swath of data points. You can associate and correlate so many data points that realistically are just, even if you don't want to use the word coincidental, are just like, we're like pareidolia. Like, we
Mhm.
like as humans to find these patterns, and so
Mhm.
therefore we will find them. And you can name a random thing, and I'll name another random thing. 3, 2, 1, we'll go name it, and we can find some fucking
Yeah.
connections to it. So as it relates to the king, though, you kind of like, you're scratching an itch for me right
Yeah.
now,
It's
where as you're saying,
interesting,
oh, the
right? Like,
university,
there's no proof of this. It's never like you're gonna
but that's
find a
so much. That's
smoking
the best
gun,
ones.
but, like, I think it's a
That's the best
legit
ones.
conspiracy.
I like it. And reading it and now going back and reading it through, I think that's a good like recommendation because reading any of his work with that lens would add a layer of enjoyment in my mind
Hmm.
to where you could like intellectually engage with something
Yeah,
that
because
otherwise,
like
in my
I went
opinion,
into that book with that frame of thinking already. You know what I
yeah.
mean? It wasn't like I read the book and by the end I was like, I think this is a psyop. It was like I went into it thinking it was a psyop, so I was looking for the evidence.
Yeah. Well, then self bias, right? Of course, self
Yeah, sure.
not realization, but confirmation
Yeah,
bias, right?
confirmation bias for sure.
You know, I think that's awesome, dude. I
Yeah,
really the fact that you pulled it out, but again, it's almost like you wouldn't have to do this if he could just write, like if his
you
shit
could
was
just
actually
tweet
entertaining,
good.
you know, because you never once did you like go through Blindsight and then think, oh, hey, this must be, you know, you didn't have to
It's a
entertain
great
anything
book.
else
Like, this was a
because it's
shitty
entertaining
book.
you.
This Tommy
Yeah,
Knockers was a
that's what I'm
shitty
saying.
book. Like, I was
That's what I'm
and I
saying.
was
Yeah.
kind of excited for it. I'm like, "This is gonna be good," you know? And it
Mhm.
just wasn't.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Is like the fact that he's got
It
all
was
these
way
movie
too long.
adaptations.
It was like 28
All of his are way
hours,
too
and
long,
it didn't need to be that long. Like,
bro.
there
Yeah.
like, there was hours of anti-nuclear energy propaganda that didn't fit into the story in any way at all. That was
Yeah.
just there to serve, like, a propagandizing purpose.
You've I mean, you scratched an itch. I don't know if I'm curious enough to read it,
I'm
because
not
I
reading
don't
another one
like
of his books. I'm
was
happy
yeah.
to believe this conspiracy for the rest of my life.
And you're gonna get everybody else on
Yeah,
here too.
yeah,
We gotta
yeah.
make shirts now.
Yeah, no, I'm done. I'm done reading his
King.
books. That wasn't worth it to me. Like, I
I
I got to the point where I'm like, "Can this just be over already?"
You know, and see, like VC Andrews, as an example of the same like things that I were reading at the same time that I read King, is uh is a better black and white writer, and I'm not going to put her as a good writer to anybody, you know. And it's like if she's better, if that's the
That's why I think
caliber that
it's
is
like
better,
it's the idea of King instead of
but
the actual
which
books
is which is
themselves.
so interesting to me, which is why I'm like, where how did the idea get started? You know, like where and who decided that this was going to be the
Yeah,
thing? And then as time goes on, yeah, it's like the man, the myth, the legend, it becomes the
exactly.
thing. And maybe it's the
Exactly. The
speed, the prolifer
Shining. You watch
yeah,
The Shining, and it's such a great movie that the books must be incredible.
no, Kubrick is a great director.
Exactly.
He's not I never
Exactly.
thought I never even liked The Shining as a movie itself. Like I like
No, I'm not a
uh,
fan of it either, but, like,
yeah, I
people
liked
love
his
it,
attention to
you know?
detail and I like him as a director overall. Again, back to the idea. I like him more
Yeah,
as the idea.
2001 was awesome.
2001 is probably my favorite of his. What was the other one? The war one he did. I always blank the fucking name of it. It was the first one he did.
I know what you're talking
Um,
about.
shoot, yeah, but yeah, as a whole, or even Eyes Wide Shut. I like Eyes Wide Shut,
I
but
never
like
saw
as a
that.
whole, his attention to detail is similar to like my own and or like other directors, if you want to relate him to like directors that I enjoy. So I enjoy him as an idea, but as a whole, especially Shining, that's like that's not even in his that's I wouldn't even put that as a good movie that Kubrick has made. Like there are elements of it was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, of course, typical Kubrick, right? You
Yeah.
know, like,
Be
you know,
afraid of your family.
well, the concept, sure, I'll set secondary. I'm just talking about like his emphasis on certain like the room numbers and then like repetition and like certain and quick cutaways and like
Yeah.
the things he gets out of his actors, especially the child actor. Like there are some and visuals is a big thing with Kubrick
Yeah.
that is very interesting, which is why I think it works so well with 2001.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of that, the overall movie, you know, I mean Jack Nicholson, you know, here's Johnny, yeah, quotable. You watch the whole movie, you're like, that's like a 10-second scene at the
Mhm.
very end. You had to sit through an hour plus to get to that
Yeah.
fucking scene, you
And he
know?
had
It's
an
like,
ugly wife.
and then he's
His
fucking
wife was
what? Yeah, what's
ugly.
her? That was like the only movie she was big
Yeah.
in too.
He's
She was like
ugly.
not. Anyways, yeah, man,
Alright.
it's a King, man. It's not enough for me to reread
No,
any of his
me
stuff
neither.
because
I
I
don't
dis
recommend reading him, but if
yeah,
you're going to, do it through that
read it through
lens.
the lens.
Yeah.
I do like that added like asterisk there. That's kind of how I was going with the Red Rising. Is like I think the dude who wrote Red Rising, I don't want to blank on his name now. But I think he's like an interesting cat that I would love to talk to and like, you know, like explore like, oh, what about this theme and this thing?
Yeah.
Is this where you were going with this versus that? But the third, I mean, he even said it in like one interview that I saw is he was like, yeah, I didn't know where I was like, I didn't plan to have a fourth, fifth, and sixth. So I didn't really know where I was going when I started four. And I thought the only logical way to do that was X, Y, and Z. Again, I don't want to spoil it for you, but you can tell the first three were like passion
Mhm.
and it was like an encapsulating
Oh, so
story.
the
It
rest of
ended
them are just a
perfectly.
money grab.
I don't know. I mean, he definitely made more with them. So
Mhm.
I don't know if it was. I won't say that to especially if we get him on the show. But
These people don't
it,
do a lot of interviews.
he doesn't know. God damn it! What's his fucking
And a
name?
lot
Now
of them
it's like on
aren't
the
great interviews, Like
yeah. And the
I've
interviews I've
interviewed a lot
seen,
of sci-fi writers at this point, probably 10 to 15, and it's hit or
Pierce
miss.
Brown
They're
does.
hit or miss when it comes to interviews.
Well, he's very it seems like reserved on what he'll agree to talk about.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know if that's because the interviewees or the interviewers sucked when they were interviewing him. Um and similar to like a lot of Hollywood like interviewers, like the they'll be like the low-hanging fruit, oh,
Mhm.
what did you think about,
Yeah.
racism? It's like fuck you. And so I don't know if that's because that's his response is that he doesn't and he comes off as reserved because he doesn't want to entertain that bullshit. But I would like to explore some of like the philosophy of X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z for his books, and I'd be curious. Yeah, to your point, not always. There are the occasional like I just did an interview. I don't want to blank on his name. He wrote like 10 books now.
Terrence Rodering?
Rodering, yeah,
Yeah, I've
Rodering.
interviewed him too.
He was an interesting guy, right?
Yeah.
Interesting, and you could explore his philosophy, and you could talk to him about whatever, and go wherever, and he would bring
Yeah.
it back or continue going down that rabbit hole. He was fun. So it's not always the case, but
Yeah. There's
it's
another
almost like
guy on
don't meet your
Podmatch that you should interview named Russell Anders.
Russell Anders. Okay,
Yeah.
let me
He's
write him
good.
down real quick.
He's written a couple cyberpunk books. He's good.
There was one he wrote Swarm that I
Yeah,
interviewed way
Guy
back in the
Morris.
day.
I've interviewed him too.
Morris,
Yeah.
yeah, Morris, yeah. He
He's
was
a
an interesting
decent
cat.
interview too.
He was an interesting cat. What
I
was the guy's
honestly,
name? Russell Morris.
like since Guy Morris was his name.
Guy.
Since we're 2
No,
hours
no,
and
not
40.
Guy Morris. The
Russell Anders.
Anderson.
Yeah.
Russell.
Since we're so far in, and I know Guy will never read this, the books weren't that great.
Unfortunately, yeah, I read Swarm.
I read Swarm and his second one, and they're not that great.
I didn't read the second one after Swarm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not reading another one. They're not great.
Well, I know he recently released another.
He's got Trump derangement syndrome.
A little bit, yeah, a
And
little bit. See,
it really comes to the surface in the second book.
does it? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, see, I didn't even like the
And
first
also
one because
like
of the sci-fi aspect.
and
of
also
it.
like Putin derangement syndrome, and that one really comes to the surface too.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
there was
a lot of these fucking boomers. They grew up under this like Russia's the great enemy type thing, and they just can't let it go.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say
He's like all in on RussiaGate.
Is he?
Yeah.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
Well, see, like we grew up, or at least I definitely grew up, with the whole Middle East,
Yeah.
bad Middle East because of 2001 and everything. So, I understand how it's hard to get out of foundations. I think the difference is when you see evidence and facts in front of you, like with the Russiagate thing, you can be like, oh well, turns out that was bullshit.
Yeah.
And you look at like the culture from people boots on the ground, buddies, and I don't know, child gang raping culture that is in the UK currently.
Yep.
And you kind of like
It's
take
a
a step back,
problem.
like, well,
It's
not
a little bit
exactly.
bigger problem than Putin.
Yeah,
you know?
not exactly. Not everything is unfounded. Just because there is a fear of something doesn't mean that it's an unfounded fear.
Putin. They're just they
Yeah.
can't handle it. It's I don't know. They just can't shake
Have you
it.
seen? Now this is gonna be crazy, but I'm glad the Patreon gets to hear it. Have you seen the memes that are halfway? Yeah, I'm just gonna say I've had this. I made my drink a little strong, and I'm gonna feel a little loosey goosey here. The relatable and agreeable memes of far right. Let's just say Hitler was one of the last ones I saw.
He had some good points. He was a good guy.
There was one about the gang stuff, and it was have you seen the movie Downfall?
No.
Where it's all in German. It's fine. It's a fine movie. It is what it is. It's definitely like a awards grab kind of a movie, but overall it's interesting in terms of like the performances, and I think the most interesting part about it is that it has become so memed, and the actor in it has like a series of moments because it's supposed to like signify the downfall of obviously by the title of Hitler and the Third Reich, and so it's all centered around like the last 12 or 24 hours of the regime where they're losing, they're getting invaded. Hamburg is everybody's on the steps of Hamburg, so on and so forth, right? And so there's multiple times where he's got information coming to him, and he's just shaking Hitler. Now I don't know if you've ever read like the full biography of Hitler, or if but basically he was like a vegetarian. He had a doctor who kept like
he was secretly
pumping him.
gay.
Uh, he might have been. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he wasn't having sex with his wife a ton,
No.
so that is out there. So you do know that
Oh
fact,
yeah,
right?
I do.
But basically, like his
I know the
body was,
lore.
yeah, his body
I'm
was
in on the
deteriorating.
lore.
How could I be so silly? But his body was deteriorating at that point, and it had been for years up to that point.
The
And
meth.
so, well, it passed. It became no
Do you ever see that
longer.
video of him at like the Paris Olympics where he's just like
Yep.
fucking
Yep. Well, in the film, he's shaking, like he gets bad news and he's like shaking, he's like taking off his eyeglasses. And he's like shaking it. And it's just like when you receive when and then he puts his hand on his head, basically just like in utter defeat. And the meme was when they're covering up Epstein grooming gangs, your neighborhood has been, and it's just like and then it's like, and then it turns out that all of this could have been prevented, and it just cuts to him shaking, and it's like,
I think
had we
I've seen
not,
that meme before, for
it's
sure.
there's a bunch of like
Yeah, yeah.
iterations of it too, but it's just like there's this entertainment of thought moment where I'm thinking about, all right, what would have happened? And again, my wife is terrible influence with it because I feel like her algorithm's worse than mine because she just like fuels it because she
Yeah.
thinks it's funny. She's like the troll of a troll for her own like algorithm. It's
That's
it's
funny.
ridiculous, right? And then so she's like the worst influence where she's like, well, it probably would have been, and she'll just go off, and I'm like, babe, oh my God, I was just joking. I was just having, she's like, carpeted all, fucking parking lotted, do this,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
probably would have been we wouldn't be referring to the past as a proper country. We'd still be one, yada, 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 right? And then I was like, babe, I was just joking, right? And there's that moment of like thought experiment. It's like, all right, so what would have happened? I don't know. Have you seen alternate histories on YouTube by chance? Where it's like, what
Maybe.
if the Third Reich
I've
won?
watched that PKD show.
PKD.
Man in the High Castle.
Oh, yeah. I haven't checked that one out. That's
Oh, you
the
should watch that. It's really good.
I've heard a lot of good.
It's a Philip K. Dick's.
Yeah. I've heard a
It's
lot of
good.
good things about it. I knew it was like a reference of something
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
dude, interesting like about Philip K. Dick's is like he believed that alternate histories were a thing and that like we were in
Yeah.
a simulation and that he could actually so like the Man in the High Castle for him was not a story, it was a memory that like
Mm,
he was able to hold on to the memory after the simulation changed the outcome of World War II. Interesting
mm.
guy.
I love see similar to like the Mandela effect
Hmm.
and thing because I've
Yep.
I've heard the Mandela get wrapped into that as well,
Yep.
where crossing over and back and
He
forth
was an
kind of a thing of
interesting
memories
guy.
and
Like
memories.
he fucking yeah, he was out
I
there.
need to read because I just started and have it queued up as well. Electric Sheep. Fuck, I'm gonna blank
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
The Blade
Do
Runner fucking book.
androids dream of
Android
electric sheep?
Dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten into the PKD library yet. I have a couple of them on my Audible. I just haven't gotten into them yet.
He was one
I
of
want to
those where
read
it
like
was.
UBIK and
Yeah.
what's the other one? Neuromance. Oh no, Neuromancer is somebody else. I don't remember. There's a couple that I have of PKD that I want to read.
But he always comes up in these conversations,
Uh-huh.
especially when it comes to sci-fi.
Yep.
So I think similarly, I want to read him to know, just like anything else, I want to hear from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
And that's one of those blind sides that I've had growing up because I remember around the same time I read Starship Troopers,
That's a good
where
book. It's so much different than the movie.
I loved it so much. I mean,
There's
I think we talked about
actually
this last time.
there's a new version of it on Audible right now, written
Hmm.
read by R.C. Bray.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
like a
It's
what's
the
the
same
Audible thing
book.
that they're
It's
doing
just
now?
read by R.C. Bray.
What's that thing they're doing now where they have like different actors and voices? I'm blanking on the
Oh, yeah,
term,
yeah. I know what you're talking
like
about.
cinematic
Yeah, yeah.
reading or whatever it
Yeah.
is. And my buddy was telling me about it.
Those are
He's
hit
like,
or
yeah,
miss.
exactly. I told him, I was like, I don't, not that I'm discrediting that, especially I'm glad that people are listening more and more to books, and therefore now we're creating a new genre of entertainment in this like cinematic reading or whatever they call it. But with a large comma there, I don't I don't seek that as my entertainment in the same way that it sounds like you are seeking that with these like different voices and stuff.
Mhm.
I'm not looking at it like what's the word? Like an escape. That's what my movies are. So
Mhm.
when I go there, it's because I want to hear the author's,
Sure.
like 9 times out of 10, their voice. But if it's an older book, then I want to know what their voice would have sounded like. What was their writing style? And so if I'm reading it or listening to it, oftentimes both, I want to hear the idea, like the actual person's brain on
Mhm.
page. Like that's what writing is. It's like
Yeah.
it is a representation of your thoughts. It is
Yeah.
your feelings, your thoughts, and how well of a artist, you were able to craft the language that we have at our disposal
And
into
that's
the thing
like
that I'm consuming.
and that's what I try and get through to these sci-fi writers after like when I interview them. If they don't do well, like I kind of have like a come to God moment with them
Mm,
where like after I'm like, hey, look, man, like so like the last guy that I interviewed, all he would talk about was the story. And he was just giving spoiler after spoiler
mhm.
after spoiler. Well, that they did this and they did that. And it's like, well, now I don't need to read the book. Like you
Yeah.
need to talk about the themes of the book. You need to
Mhm.
get the person listening to the podcast needs to be interested enough in you to go
You.
buy the book. Like they don't
Exactly.
want to hear what happens in the book because now it's a spoiler. They want
Exactly.
to know about you. They want you to talk about the themes. Why did I write about this theme? How
Mhm.
does this theme connect to that theme? You know what I mean? And some
Yeah,
of these
absolutely.
guys get it and they're good at it and others just aren't. And they're,
Absolutely.
kind of like writers can be introverts and like I get that, but like
Mhm.
you gotta be able to sell yourself, not the book.
Damn,
Like
dude,
by
that's a
selling yourself, you're selling the book.
absolutely. I've had similar conversations with writers, and I've said similar things, but you fucking nailed it on the head of what I was trying to always articulate.
Yeah.
Of again, I may have even said sell yourself to them, or I tend to be a nice guy, but like that is 100% what I go back. Even when we're
Yeah.
talking about like
And I'm
rotoring
like
or Morse, like
trying to get this guy off of like the book. Like,
yeah,
don't worry about the book. Like themes in the
yeah.
book. You know what I
That's that.
mean? Like
If that's the thing you want people to get, yeah, I understand that, but why you
he
and I
wrote
are
about
going into
like
the book?
space vampires. Why did you write about vampires specifically? Why
Exactly.
how does they work in within the ecosystem of your story? Like
Exactly.
what is the thought level behind it? Like I don't want to know what the vampire did in the
Mhm.
story. I
I will
want to
get
know
that from the
why
story
you
if
wrote about the vampire.
100%, 100%. No, that's like you nailed it. Again, why I think I liked Rotoring so much is he was willing to be like, well, I have a very like fundamentalist like view, I come from like a Christian, framework, and therefore I'm talking about like good
Yeah.
versus evil, and I'm
Yeah.
talking about like the
Exactly.
conclusion of those things, and I'm like, "Oh, I can see where you're coming from logically, how
Uh-huh.
you get to this. I want to see what that conclusion is now. I want
Yes.
to see what that
Exactly.
is in the
Like
book."
Russell Anders was the first guy that I interviewed where I wanted to read his book afterwards.
Yeah.
I
Okay, okay.
interviewed him like, damn, this guy's on it. Like, he wrote a cyberpunk book, and we're just talking about like all of the aspects that lead you to write about cyberpunk, you know?
Fuck yeah.
And like, after I read it, then we did a second interview where we discussed the themes even further, you know?
Fuck yeah.
And
I'm gonna go
I'm
back and listen
actually
to
going to
those.
beta read his second book for him here
I've been going
when
back
he's
through your
done.
back catalog just
Oh,
in
yeah.
in full. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
seen the downloads or not.
listen to the Anders interviews. Those are good.
Yeah.
There's 2 of them
Fuck
on
yeah.
there. There's another guy that I interviewed who's not on Podmatch anymore, and I can't get a hold of him again. I don't remember it. Reza something, and that was a good interview
Mm,
too. He was like a brain surgeon that wrote about like a book where somebody like downloads their consciousness into an
fuck yeah.
android,
See.
and like that was interesting. Like we had a great conversation, and it was interesting, and like I wanted to have him back on again, but then he just disappeared. So I
Yeah,
don't know
I've
how to get
noticed
a
that.
hold of him anymore.
Well, that's also why I mean, sorry, Patreon, you're getting you're hearing and seeing how some of the sausage is made,
Yeah.
but I have also, I refusing to update the pod match. Like it keeps wanting me to update and start paying. And it's like, oh, you're gonna get all these features. I'm like, fuck you. I don't need that. I
No.
know exactly how to use it for what I need
Yep.
it for. And then on top of that, I was going back through some of the back catalogs for previous guests, and same thing. I was noticing a lot of no longer a pod
Mhm.
match member, no longer a pod
I
match
try and
member.
get people's emails out. If I
Exactly.
think I want to have them on again, I get their email address.
That's where I was going with it. Is like
Yeah.
a lot of them are trying to only schedule through
Yeah.
Podmatch, and now anytime I'm replying to people, I'm like, "Hey, the scheduling stuff through Podmatch has
You
been
can't
giving
schedule a second
issues.
interview through them,
There's a couple
which
issues
is
with it,
weird.
so the best way to do this is just contact either give me your email or here's my email, contact me
Yeah.
through there, and we'll schedule it that way. That's what I've been
Yeah.
doing more and more, like literally the last 6 months. That's what
Yeah.
I've been using it for,
Yeah,
and it
you'll like Russell. If I think he's still on there. If not, if you can't find him on there, I'll give you his email address and
okay, perfect, yeah.
I can send him an email and saying, "Hey, you should go on this guy's show because he's good. You'll like him."
I've been doing more of the logistics for it because the wife is going through a lot of the workups. She'll be deployed here for like the next 9 months, starting the end of this year. So I've been I have a couple things that I've put together for myself in terms of like my career, and I won't know the answer to any of that until probably like January 27 to maybe September 27. So like right as I'm leaving this area.
Mhm.
So now I'm basically going to have all the free time outside of normal Uncle Sam work. I won't be doing a whole lot of work on the
Ah, bet you we
like
can
back end of
do
it.
more episodes.
That's what I'm saying is like I'll have so that's what I've been putting the logistics together for the next
Yeah,
year basically
cool.
of like who I want to interview, and I don't want to waste time with like anybody on pot, not necessarily
Yeah,
anybody on Podmatch.
I've stopped interviewing people that I'm not like really interested in.
Exactly. Yeah,
You
like I've been
know,
going
like
through deep dives with people
for a
now.
while there, I was just kind of like, I need an interview. Like this person would be good enough, and I've kind of gotten away from that. And I'm also not
100%.
doing AI interviews anymore.
Hey, just on the topic of AI.
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
so many fucking people. Oh, this person works in AI and they do this in their business, and I'm like, not interested.
not interested. Yeah.
I've done
That's
enough
how
of
I was
them.
with
They
writers
all
for a
say
while
the same
too.
shit. Like, I'm not interested anymore.
Yeah, authors, that's how it was for a little while as well. Using Podmatch, I was just like,
Mhm.
yeah, sure, sure, sure. And same thing, like I go through deep dives with people now, like starting this year since like the 350 onward point. You and I have been doing a lot, but like
Yeah,
the last 2 weeks, I haven't had an episode because I've had, I was away from the studio obviously, and then I've had a lot of like of the usual work shit. So anytime I'm looking at who I should put in there, I'm just like, it's not worth doing a rushed episode with
yeah,
some random fucker off Podmatch.
yeah,
I'll just have a quiet fucking, quiet weekend. I'll do my usual, my other shit that I'm doing, and then I'll tell Patreon, hey guys, we love you. We got some merch that we're gonna fill in these gaps with because obviously you guys deserve, stuff for supporting us, and we love you. But you're not gonna get an episode unfortunately this week. So
yeah.
and then when you and I are able to link up, or especially with the Carmelo and the fucking
Yeah.
UK and the all
Fuck,
FIFA, we didn't really get to talk about
we didn't
FIFA.
even
I
get
was
to the war.
That's what I'm saying. We didn't even really talk about FIFA or Iran. Is
No,
like
none
that
of
was
it. It's all right
well, I
though.
mean,
This was a great episode.
it always is. But I mean, speaking of Iran, one of my contacts there is actually happy to be hopefully coming home. And then as soon as they fucking hit me up, it's like all of the usual bureaucracy bullshit of like, hey, don't forget this, don't forget this.
Yeah.
And as someone in their like quote unquote chain of command, like I have to. It's not that I am, but they look at me and ask me questions, and so it's like. It is nice that they respect me to that like degree that they want me to help them because they're getting this bureaucracy run
Yeah.
around bullshit and they know I'm going to cut it to them straight. So that's like nice, but it's also added a lot to the plate where it's like I'm not gonna not do this, but it is so much stupid shit that you have to do.
Yeah.
You know,
I saw a
post pre and
conspiracy
post
about
deployment.
those planes that went down recently.
Yeah, when they
Somebody was saying that like they think that more people have died in the war than the government's willing to admit, so they
there
crashed a
probably is.
couple
Yeah,
empty planes and said they were
no,
on
there
them.
probably is. There probably. I mean, I don't think that's a conspiracy because there are plenty of people who um I have talked to and would like to talk to on air that can confirm that yes, that is the case. Like
Yeah.
some of the
It's
shit
hard
that
to
happens.
hide nowadays because everybody's in connection with their families, you know?
Yeah. Well, and this he was like, yeah. Well, he was specifically in Ukraine, and he was talking about like some crazy shit that was going on in Ukraine, and it was and because he's not done. He was kind of like, you know what? Well, when we're like in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, when I'm here or there, we'll have a couple whiskeys and I'll tell you about like this and that. It's
Yeah.
some of that kind of shit, and it's cool. It's cool to know somebody who's giving you the latest and greatest, but
Yeah.
it also is kind of like disheartening. Is like, yeah, there anything that you're seeing in terms of like total counts or the official narrative, like you and I obviously have suspicions and obvious and very frequently will be like, yeah, that's bullshit and can see through the bullshit of propaganda. But it's a different story when it's like, no, this person just died. And it's
Actually
like,
seen it.
nobody's going to say that.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a fucking, 12 gun salute or anything like that. There's not going to be a fucking lowering of the flags and anything like that. And it's just shitty. It's like,
Yeah.
this is back to the collateral
Yeah,
damage
dude,
conversation.
the government treats soldiers like fucking like machines, you know? They
It's even better when it's in
propagandize
other countries.
these young poor people. They get them to fucking join the military. They use them as much as they can and then throw them in the streets when they're done with them to let them live in the streets and get addicted
Yeah.
to drugs and blow their fucking brains out.
And well, it's also because I've been not grappling, but considering the principle, the philosophical principle of all of this, and I've made my peace a long time ago. It was actually on one of the recent trips I was on. There was somebody, um, he lives. Yeah, I'm not doxing him by saying this. He lives in Michigan, and I learned. Did you know the glove of that area? I didn't know this
Mm-mm.
term, the glove. Michigan, but apparently like the Great Lakes, they create what looks like a hand for the
Mm.
state on the map, and so he's like from the middle finger area of.
That's where most of the fucking military recruits come from is like the Flint, Michigan area.
Well,
It's like
what's funny?
their
No,
biggest fucking recruiting grounds are the shittiest states in the country and the cityest
yeah, I mean, and that's
worst
not any
cities, and
surprise.
like they just go and prey on the vulnerable, you know.
It's not any surprise that, but I also
Same
don't
thing they were
know.
doing when they would go to the dirt bike tracks with us in Southern California. Oh, you want to ride dirt bikes for a living? We've got a job for you. Not really,
Yeah,
but we'll tell you we do.
but see, that's the thing where coming you and I coming at it from two different angles is like I don't disagree with you that they do that. That is an aspect you could call it preying on, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who would not. They would have been drug dealers, or they would have been
Sure.
dead, or they would have.
I'm not
And
saying
I've
it's the
seen
worst
them.
option. I'm just saying these people have very
It's an
little to
unfortunate.
no
Yeah,
options at all.
yeah,
You know, if
yeah,
they want to be like have a decent life, like that's one of their only options, you know.
and again,
They're not getting into
that's
college. They're,
yeah.
you know, not going to a trade school. Like they're fucked.
And a lot of the men specifically is what I'm talking about here. They lack that direction and discipline
Yeah.
for life, just general life, like
Especially growing
paying
up in
tax.
fatherless homes.
Yeah, yeah, and I do think the that aspect of it that they can gain from it is great, especially if they don't like a buddy of mine who just got out. He got out just under 10 years. You know, he's been in for 8 or 9, right? Got out. Even my buddy who got out after 12. I do think, and I know that they would agree with me that the military provided them that aspect of like formulating the thought. You know, like they're not, it's not that they're going to read every book or they're not going to explore every topic the way that you and I
Mhm.
might, but the military opened their eyes that they have the ability and needed that discipline
Yeah.
to start doing some of those things for themselves in
Yeah,
their life, and
maybe they'll
now they
come
are going to
across
go.
a Scott Horton book while they're in there. Like I've
Yeah,
heard that those books float around on deployment, and that the brass tries to get rid of them as soon as they pop up.
chaos was a big one that my
Oh,
wife took
really?
on one of her last deployments. Yeah, Tom
Mm,
O'Neill, and then she left it in the ship's library because
yeah,
there are communal books that people can trade in there. And it was one of those. I was like, "Ooh, how'd that go off?"
yeah,
She's like, "Oh, I'll find out on this deployment."
yeah.
I can't wait to see if it's still there, kind of a thing. But it's I do think it is. I can be a good thing, and just like everything else, it's what you make it, right? And
Yeah,
so a lot of these guys I've seen who didn't have direction, didn't have discipline, didn't have any really like ability or forethought or anything. The military allowed them to develop that part of their brain when they're 18, 19, and then before they got a full functioning brain at 25.
yeah,
And now that they're approaching 30 and now that they're getting out, they are better. They are suited and have the ability and opportunity
sure.
to go to school, to become a functioning member of society, to do something with their life rather
Yeah,
than
as
what
long as
they
they don't
definitely
get
would have
blown
been.
apart on deployment, you know.
Well, that is one of the first obstacles. It is a
Yeah,
large obstacle, but it is one of the first. Yes, but they have usually they're not in debt, because they made money on deployment. Like there are these again. You
everybody in
could
the
you could
military gets disability when they get out.
yeah. I mean less and less. It seems. I don't even know if it's less and less now. There have been revamps.
When
Long
I went
story
to
short,
line school, like most of the guys that I went to line school with were just out of the military. They were all on
mm,
disability and they're doing line work. And I remember thinking, like, how the fuck does that work? If you're disabled, like you can't be a lineman, but
I
that's
think it's the term.
not
They
how it
just they
works. Yeah.
the disability quote unquote they wrap into so
Sure.
much, and
No,
the
I
fact
get it
that
now. At the time I didn't get it, you know.
yeah. Well, it's also like the fact that the military, especially Marines, because because I'm in the medical field, so much shit that I see from Marines is just like they come in and they are quote unquote fine, even though they're not most of the time fine, but they're young, dumb, and still strong enough to where it doesn't matter. I'm just thinking, and I don't always say this to them because most of them won't even understand it if I did, but it's just like that is gonna hurt so much when you're
Yeah.
50, dude. You don't even realize.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you have you're going to fuse that disc. Like it is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And the packs and stuff, especially with the Marines and Army, that the weight bearing, and the load like bearing that the joints have to do at 18, 19. And then especially because I don't know, I don't remember the last stat I saw of the turnover rate, but the turnover rate for Marines that make it a career versus those that just do one or two contracts is 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 north of 60, if not 75%.
Mhm.
So again, I can't remember the last stat from like the VA, but it's not a small number. So most of these kids, or most of them, yeah, most of these kids coming through the Marines know you're not, I don't have to worry about paying your retirement. I know I don't have to worry about, continuing to pay you for the next 20, 30 years. I know I just have to pay you right now. and then you're gonna get out and go do whatever the fuck else you want. So I can put whatever stress on your body.
Yeah.
You're young enough that you're flexible enough, and you know everything. You're gonna bounce back, most of you. So it doesn't really fucking matter to me. And I'm looking at these kids. I'm just like, God damn it! Like you're one of those stats. You're one of those prime examples of those idiots, those retards who come in, eat your
Casualty,
crayons.
casualty
You're
of war, you
you're
know?
just you're and you're but they're so happy to do it, you know? And
Mhm.
it's like a dog chasing its tail. It's like, I don't want to stop you unless you like hurt yourself, you know? It's like just go on, keep knocking your I don't care. Like knock yourself out, you know,
Yeah.
whatever, Fido. But yeah, it's it's again, I I've come to terms, and I was talking to this guy. He wasn't in the military actually, but he was from Michigan. He was asking me, and I could tell that he probably, again, assuming was like liberal leaning, and just by the questions he was asking, like, so how do you exactly like, how does it affect you, you know, with like, you know, certain politicians or like, you know, certain policies, and you know, does that,
Throw some
you know,
balls,
affect
faggot.
you? Yeah, he definitely didn't want, and he was so much older than me too.
Yeah.
But you could tell, and I was like, dude, at the end of the day, I'm here now. I would say I live a pretty good life, all things considered. Um, and uh, and the fact that all of that stuff doesn't affect me is case in point why you need to stop focusing on it. You know, again, in so many words, I told him like, get over it, man. There are as a tale as old as time, young men wanting to do violent shit, wanting to do
Yeah.
aggressive shit, and guess where we're at? We're in the year 2026, and our nature has not changed that much. Okay, so if you're telling me that you wish war didn't exist. Yeah, I wish casualties of war. I wish, you know, civilian casualties. I wish all of the funding of weapons and the need and necessity that is, you know, built around using them because you've made them, and like the money, you know, siphoning off black product. You know, you could say all of the
Mhm.
terrible things about the world we live in now. Yes, of course. But I'm here, I'm drinking whiskey, and I'm telling you to grow the fuck up, okay? Because that doesn't have anything to do with you. It doesn't have anything to do with me, and neither of us saying it has anything to do with us is going to change it tomorrow. It was happening back in the Romans, you know, Roman time. We were
Yeah.
telling people we'll give them some acres and a farm and a family if they go and do 10, 20 years in this fucking army, if they come back alive, you know? And that was a trade that they were willing to do. And a lot of them became, you know, fucking, you know, kings and, or, you know, like, or what's the other one where you own like carts or whatever the fuck they were called? I
I
can't
don't
remember
know.
now. But you know, bankers or whatever. Like people have the ability, like we were saying earlier, to be victims of the circumstance and blame everything on everything around them, or to fucking grow some balls. Again, in not so many words is what I told him. Grow some fucking balls and like you know, take a hold of the fucking bull that this life has
Yeah.
given you. All
Hey,
right, it's not
it's
always going to be the same.
like I don't recommend people go to the military, and like we might be different on that stance, but if I had to like choose between the military and college, probably go to the
That's what
military,
And that was the choice I made, in
you
fact.
know?
So now again, now I don't disagree with you. It's not for everybody. I really emphasize
Like
that because a
you're
lot of the
running a lot more risk going into the military than you
yeah,
are going into college, like physical risk, but like the opportunities that you're afforded when you get out are much greater in the military than in college.
quicker turnaround, immediate experience. I
You
mean,
get like
I
so like in line work, when you apply for a line work job, they have like different piles of resumes. The first pile is military experience and work experience. The second pile is military experience. The third pile is work experience. And then the
yeah,
fourth pile is no experience, no military, you know?
yeah,
And that's just
yeah.
how it is.
I mean, and there's a
Like the
reason
guys
for
that I
that.
went to school with that were in the military got hired onto the utility companies right out of school where I had to go to a contractor.
Yeah, yeah, and that is there's no mystery as to why that is. I mean, just like
No, they know that you're disciplined and you're gonna listen to orders.
well, I don't remember who said it. It was in like a TV show or something, and somebody was explaining like to their kid, this is what college and this is what school does, and they're like,
All
oh, it gives you a
college
degree.
really does is show your employer that you're gonna get the work done on time.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I again, to paraphrase whatever the character was saying, because it was on like a random clip I saw online, but it was son, this is not because the degree will guarantee you a doctorate, or,
No.
this doctorate degree doesn't guarantee that you're going to be a great surgeon. No, this degree shows your employer, your future
Yeah,
employer,
you're
whoever
gonna
it may
show
be,
up.
that you show up on time at the right place and
Yeah,
you do the work that was asked of you,
yeah,
at least
that's all
to
it
this
is.
GPA degree, this to
Yeah,
this level that we set for you rather. And it's like, if you do a million other things like the military, that is the exact same thing. That
mhm,
is the resume that you're putting in front of an employer. An employer looks at someone who's 18, who's never done anything, never been anywhere, and also never done anything in school, dropped out, whatever. And is it any question, just like if you're looking for a bank loan or anything, is it any question that they look at that as like a high risk employment situation
yeah.
rather than someone who just did 5, 10, whatever years in the military, got out honorably, has their GI Bill, started school, whatever. Like, is that any question that that resume looks a little less risk than what you're presenting as a 25-year-old unemployed, homeless for the last 5 years,
Yeah.
never been anywhere, done anything kind of a thing? Yeah, of
Yep.
course it does.
Yep.
There's no question. And that's why I say, like, again, you could say praying, and I don't disagree that that is part of it. Just like anything else, right? In a capitalist situation and capitalist society, it is survival of the fittest, and part of that is there are wolves involved, and sometimes the wolves can be on your team, and sometimes they can be against you. So
I
that
would
is part of
argue
it.
that the military is a socialist institution rather than a capitalist one. Like,
Oh,
sure,
no,
it's
no.
giving you options in a capitalist economy after you get out, but like in the end, it's a socialist institution all the way.
No, it is. It is a socialist institution that exists because of the capitalist society we live in terms of the states. Like, we need, yeah, I say maybe not need. We have needed and desire now this expansive imperialist
Yeah.
defense, and we
I
need,
heard
therefore,
I heard
this.
Alex Rosen say the other day, he was like, somebody was talking about playing Call of Duty, and he was like, this is going to piss a lot of people in my locals community off. But I would argue that anybody playing Call of Duty for the past 5 years has done as much to protect our country as the military. And he
Nice.
goes, sorry, guys, you fell for it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know, man. I, I. There's also, similar to what you would describe with your line work. I've had a couple conversations with people. We'll probably, as I'm finishing my drink,
Yeah, we
probably
got
end
to
it
get out
here.
of here soon. I got to go
Yeah,
take
yeah,
some pain meds here.
yeah. I got you. I got you.
I'm about 40 minutes behind.
Nah, you're good.
This is the
Okay.
longest podcast I've ever done.
Is it really
Oh
3?
yeah,
This is.
I've never done
I
3
still
hours
got.
before.
I still got 3 more, if not more. I've told you those
Oh,
crazy
we
ones
can
that
keep
I've
going.
done.
Oh, we can
That
keep
I've done
going. I
6
have no
or
doubt of
not.
that. Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good. Um, no,
I've
I've
just
actually brought up.
recently bumped the show up to an hour and a half for the most part. Like
Oh yeah.
if it's not like with you, but like for we've been doing 2 hours, but like for people that I interview, if it's an hour, that means that they weren't a great interview.
I tell people the same thing. I'm like,
If it
sometimes we're
goes
done
to
in
an
an
hour
hour.
and a half, then you're a decent interview. It
Yep.
goes to
Yep.
2 hours, you're a really good interview. But if it's
Yeah,
in
you
an
went too
hour, it
long.
means I'm out of stuff to talk to you about.
Exactly. Minimum hour. Sometimes I'm struggling by minute like 45, and I'm just like
Oh,
making.
dude, how many times have you like interviewed somebody where you bring them on to talk about a certain thing and they blow their wad in 10 minutes and you're like,
in,
fuck.
in the 5 minute. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Or
like,
or
fuck,
I
now
try
I
to
got to carry this podcast for an hour.
or you try to, like, not even rehash, but like expand on something, and they don't have
Yeah,
expansion. Like, they don't have those notes ready, so they
yeah.
just say the same thing again. You're like,
And I
and
don't
you're
and I don't ask questions. Like my show for the most part is a conversational podcast. It's not a
mhm,
question answer show.
100%.
So like
Yeah.
I don't go in with like a list of questions that I can fall back on.
Likewise. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I'll.
Like they'll come to
Yeah.
me at times, I'll ask a question, but for the most part like I'm looking for a back and forth.
Exactly.
And if you
Like
don't
this. This
have
is why.
anything to come back with, like it's like
This is
it's
why we get
nothing
along.
nothing makes me fucking more angry is like I'll start a podcast with somebody and I know they're done in 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. That one, or they're trying to sell you something, and then
Yeah.
everything out of their fucking mouth is
There's
like that
always a
same
book.
like talking point. Even if it's not like there
I
was.
know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say to like emphasize the philosophy of like how crazy of a world and a life now that I've lived is. I have actually used, since that last conversation we had about, the uniqueness of line work that you experience, where you're up there. It's kind of like in the shit of it, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like rain in, but you kind of like look to
Yeah.
your buddies and everybody working around. You're like,
That's
how
what you
cool is
signed
this
up
though?
for.
Like,
This is
yeah,
the shit.
this is where we're at. And
This is
it's
being
it
this is
is.
what being a badass looks like.
Exactly. And but there's the addition to that, which is what a lot of people, which is weird to me to think of a life similar to that guy who was like trying to, again, I assume based on his questioning was very, left leaning. I, as- I don't even assume. I think this is a pretty educated guess here that has lived a very simple, very, boring life. I mean, and he even, in not so many words, said that he hasn't done this, or hasn't been anywhere. He was basically like dumbfounded of all the like life experiences I have, where he's 65 or whatever he is, and I'm fucking 30. Like he's just like, you're half my age and you've done all this stuff. Like, how is it that this is happening? Like, and again, I didn't say it to him, but I thought it, and it definitely like to the addition of like when you're in those quote unquote sucky situations, you're kind of like, yeah, but this is
Yeah.
what I wanted. This is
A lot
life.
of it's
This is what I
risk, like
risk. Yeah,
I was not averse to risk in my life. Like there's a lot of people out there that
yeah,
are not willing to take that step,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they just want to fall back on the comfortable thing and live life in a way that's going to give them just enough, you
yeah.
know.
And people are
And
very
like there's, very few people out there that are willing to take an actual risk on something, to
yeah at a
actually
fucking
try
podcast. Yeah,
and yeah, talk on a podcast to go try and race dirt bikes professionally like I did. Like I grew up with a lot of guys who were better racers than me that quit when they were 16,
yeah.
and then I kept hammering into my 20s and, ended up getting much further than they ever did.
Well, and that's the beauty of people who are good in those in dirt bikes or
Yeah.
whatever is you can tell, or you can easily see that. Yeah, you
How many people
any
do you know that actually took the time to get good at something?
It's something exactly, yeah, and who are
Anything,
passionate about
whether
it,
it's
yeah,
your job, whether it's your hobby, like there's very few people that actually get good at something.
100%, yeah, and then
They
keep
just take that job that pays them the check and they go in and they, put their earphone in at the job and do as little amount of work on their computer as they can possibly do, go home and bitch about it to their wife and then do it again the next day.
yeah, and again, I'm as guilty as any of being, or having those tendencies. I was thinking about it the other day. It's like there's a terrible trait that you could like. I don't know. I audit myself
I would
often, and
argue
if
that
there's
going into the military is a risk, you
oh
know?
no, it is, no, it is,
It's
no, it is.
it's a big risk.
Well, and I remember the situation I was in and the decision I made. I was like, fuck it, no, I'm doing and similar to like when you look back on certain decisions, similar. I don't want to put words in your mouth or on or be out of place here, but it's like shit happens when you take risks like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's shit happens well for you and you are in a better place and you get to appreciate the situation and the life that you've led. But there's also bad shit that happens, and like joining the military had its costs for
Yeah.
for me in the situation I was in, and here we are. And it's not that I regret, those costs, but I'm self auditor.
Yeah.
I can't be ignorant of the cost that it has had. My
Yeah.
body, my
I,
life,
dude,
the life I've
I
had prior.
smashed my finger working on my shed the other day. Like I was moving wood and I like smashed it in between a piece of trim and the 2x4 that I was moving. And
Yeah.
like my finger just swelled up like crazy. And I was talking to my buddy that built the shed for me. And I was like, man, I smashed my fucking finger. And he's like, oh, that sucks. And I'm like, the worst part is like my finger just healed from another injury. And he goes,
Yeah.
oh, dude, that happens to me sometimes where like I'll cut myself or hurt myself and then it'll heal up and then it'll happen again. And it's like, God, it's just one of those things where you're like, how the fuck does this happen? I'm like, dude, that's my entire fucking life.
Yeah.
Like
That's the only thing
I've went from one injury to the next my entire fucking life. I've broken like 30 bones in my life,
exactly.
and
Yep.
it's just a lot of that's like I am not a risk adverse person. Like I wasn't
Mhm.
scared enough of the power lines that I was working on to stay away from them enough to blow my fucking hand off. It's
Yeah.
like one of those things where like some people are just capable of tossing that money on the table and putting it all on black and others aren't.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's just that's why I say it like it baffles me that I can see these people, and I'll often get to this place where and I have gotten to luckily I really count my fucking lucky stars where where I get to the place where I see somebody who claims to, they make more money than me, for example. It's a great example that most people will understand. They make more money than me, so therefore they should be whatever, right? Better.
Mhm.
They should be wiser. They should be more intelligent. Whatever these things are. And I can just look straight through them. I can look them
I
dead in
was
the eyes and look straight through them
I was around
and
a
be like,
lot of people in San Francisco when I lived there that made a lot of money, They were boring.
No, and that's what I mean. It's
You
like
know, they had nothing
it,
to say at a dinner party.
it's even more than a dinner party. And some people are like, oh, good, you can tell cool stories or whatever. It's like, no, no, no. And again, back to your line analogy, because like I said, I was talking to a buddy of mine. I was like, yeah, there's this guy who hasn't been in the military, but was equating a very similar like ethos or like or like realization rather. And I think it is, to your point, like those of us that are willing to take that risk, whatever percentage of the human population or planet Earth that is able to do that. Um, there is something unique about specific areas, and
Yeah.
that's why I
And
really enjoy the.
there's perks to like having risk. I remember this guy came and talked at our line school. He was funny. He was a good speaker. He was older, he was overweight, bald, like half bald head. And
Yeah.
he'd been in the industry for 30, 40 years, something like that. And he came in and the first thing he did was like take the projector and put a picture of this hot chick up. And he's like, "You see that?" And we're like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's my wife." He's like, "Do you think a woman like that marries a guy like this without, some money behind him or without some, something good about him? Like this is the job that you chose,
Oh
like
shit.
you're gonna get the chick because you're willing to put in the work. And I always thought that was a great way to open up like a motivational speech. Like I
Oh
was
yeah.
he was like, "Look at me. I'm fucking overweight, I'm bald, like that woman does not go after this guy without the wallet."
See, he knew he was self-aware. He
Mhm.
self-audited. He knew what the
Yep.
fuck he was about
Yep.
and what he looked like and
It
everything
was
else.
great, and the guy was funny and, like, it was a good speech. I liked him.
Well,
That's the only
what I
part
like,
of the speech I remember, though.
of course, that was all. That's all he wanted you to remember,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, but the even, I don't know, the setting the human aspect aside again, like trying to articulate the thought, right? I got it up here. I got to put it out there, kind
Mhm.
of a thing, right? Is this have you seen the movie Jarhead with
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal, when they're sitting in that oil field burning and he's like, my what is it, brother or cousin or whatever, he works a 9 to 5, he makes 250K, he offered that job to me, yada yada, but I turned him down, flat, because who else gets to be out and experience shit like this? And my wife was telling me, one of the um, cool stories. I mean, we're in TAP, so I don't have to worry too much about it. But she was part of the crew that picked up the astronauts for this latest Artemis mission,
Oh, and
and
that
so she's
fake mission?
yeah, well, she has thoughts about that, and I'm sure we can talk about it. But she was part of that mission as the medical crew, and so she's telling me, a lot of this lead up to it, and then of course afterwards, and she she understood what I meant when I say things like what I'm describing to you now, where she was talking about how they were all having cigars on the smoke deck, and she was having one of those experiences for the first time, like true experience, not that it was her first experience like that, but
Yeah.
it was a
It's the
first
same
like.
experience that I had up in North Dakota in the middle of the night freezing and, it's the same
Yes,
thing.
exactly.
We just
Exactly.
did
She's
something
sleep
cool.
deprived. Exactly. She's sleep deprived. It sucks. And yet somehow she's full of adrenaline
Yeah.
at 2 a.m., you know, smoking cigars with astronauts, who she said were quite boring, by the
Oh, for
way.
sure.
um, and and it was one of those things that kind of like transcend it, right? It transcend
Astronauts.
right. Transcend all of this. Yeah, I have thoughts, and it's interesting nonetheless, but we it transcends like Egyptian lore, right? It's like when you go and you have to have your heart weighted against a feather,
Mhm.
kind of a
Yeah.
thing. Um, I love all of those old. There's a Norse story similar, which is talking about, like, similar to, like, to get into Valhalla, you have to die on battle, that kind of thing. There's a I'm probably mixing the two together right now, but there's like this idea that after it's all said and done, right? And whether you're facing judgment or you just have to become a tree, or, get reincarnated as your energy into whatever the next star system you're going to be into, there is this, I feel like, ethereal thing that I love the concept of, which is like the reason why you and I are not risk averse is because wherever the fuck energy that came into us this time around was from a similar non-risk averse kind of a a real one,
Somebody
so to
that
speak.
wished they did something with their life.
No, 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 the
Oh, the
opposite.
other way
The
around.
opposite. They did
See, I
something
could
and
see it
therefore.
I could see it the opposite too, where, like, you get done with your life and you're like, "I did nothing with my life."
Now I got to do it
I
this time.
didn't and this time I'm not gonna make that mistake again.
I hope I'm sure that I mean, anybody can make the argument, but I do believe, maybe this is like part of my DMT experience coming out, I do believe there's like that echo, right, of like the energy, right,
Mhm.
throughout space time or throughout history, and whether it's your ancestors or the adventures that the whatever society you came from was prior to you being here now, the echo is you, and whatever it is that you're doing now will be the echo for whoever comes after you. That
Yeah.
will follow in that trajectory or that experience. And there's that again, that other where it baffles me that people don't live like this. But as I'm looking back on my life, and and again, I'm classically, as most would say, young now, but like 1,000 years ago, this was about as old as people got. And so I think all things considered, compared to a Navy SEAL, sure, I haven't been the baddest of badasses out there, but it's like the amount of places I've seen people talk to,
Mhm.
things that I've done. Um, yeah, I could go up to that scale with my heart in the feather, or in the North mythology, and say this
Be
was the battlefield
confident
that I
in
died
that
on.
weight.
A
Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Throw
the
that
amount of
fucking
people.
feather down. I'm ready for it.
100%, 100%. The amount of times that I've looked through people, and again, I say that I'm trying to articulate the thought, but like I'm gonna call it looking through people, because they will often be like, well, you're broke, or you're this, or I'm better than you. You're small, I'm strong, or like I'm muscular, and you're not. Whatever adjective they want to describe themselves that makes them better than you. And I've looked straight through them, and honestly, more than anything, felt pity. And whereas I can sit back, relax, and know exactly what I'm about and what I've done and continue doing. And yeah, if it ended tomorrow, today, like 100% be confident that, yeah, I've taken the lessons of life and tried, if nothing else, at least tried to be better tomorrow, every single day. So
Yeah.
yeah, the those that are not doing that and not taking the risk to even try to do that, I legitimately, I pity it,
Yeah.
because
Step out of your
the
comfort
conversation,
zone, you know?
this is this is a 3.5 hour conversation. Patreon out there, I hope you fucking
Yeah.
understand what it means. Like,
I hope you got your money's worth out of this
I
last
really
hour.
do. I really do. If nothing else, it's because this is what it's about,
Yeah.
and the fact that you and I are doing it is because, yeah, real recognize real. And when you describe that rainy day, at the top of a fucking pole, it just makes me almost want to,
Oh,
like,
it
what,
wasn't even
fuck yeah,
raining. It was like -30, snow. It was
I want to go
brutal.
up there, man. I
Yeah.
want I want to experience that. When you get
Yeah.
a cigar on a flight deck in the
Yeah.
middle of the fucking Pacific Ocean, and there's not only is there not electricity, in the nearest, or service in the nearest, 100, 500 nautical miles, um, and you're looking up at the stars, or you're in the middle of fucking some island that doesn't exist on a map somewhere.
Yeah.
You're talking to someone or you're trying to sign to someone who doesn't speak any dialect or remnant, classically remnant language close to anything that you do. You're trying to figure out how to save somebody's life. Like that's a visceral experience to stop blood, coming out of a body. Like
Yeah.
those are things that transcend, like you said, sitting on top of the world, or on top of civilization, even because you're supplying the electricity that allows
Yeah.
civilization to occur. Like that's something that transcends it, and honestly, real recognizes that. So
Yeah.
I just
And like
this is
being able
this
to
is always
recognize that in the moment is important.
absolutely, yeah, and appreciate it, yeah,
Like
after
step
the fact.
back and realize that like what you're doing matters.
Yeah. Yeah, and it can. If you're not experiencing and you haven't experienced what we're describing here, a lot of people will listen who haven't experienced that and be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
these
I mean, how
whatever."
many HR people out there like go through their entire career doing absolutely nothing that matters, you know?
They probably pity us, which is
They do.
the hilarity about
They
it.
think that there's a great meme where it like shows a lineman working on a pole and a plumber working on this, and then an electrician working on that, somebody building a house, and then it shows in the bottom HR that says this company would be lost without us.
Again, they 100% probably, and you know what? I'm glad they exist to keep the world going round, but yeah, it's different. I'm not recognizing the real through that. I'm looking right through you. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying. Yeah. This has been
Yep.
fantastic, Nick.
This
I
has
know
been
I know
great.
you gotta
It's always
I know you
good.
gotta yeah, it really is.
I'll make
It's been
sure and
a
bring my pills in with me the next time in case we
you're
do
good.
this again.
You're good, man. It's honestly, it keeps
I'm
us
kind
it
of
keeps us
surprised I don't have to take a piss yet.
same. I had a full soda and a full
Yeah, me
whiskey,
too.
like a strong whiskey
Me
too.
too.
But no, man, it's always a pleasure and it's always a blast, and that's why I
Yep.
love doing it with you. Anytime you want to,
Yep.
like,
We'll do
anytime
this
you hit me up,
again
I'm like,
whenever
let's
you
do
want,
it.
man. I'm open to do this whenever, you know.
Yeah,
Like
let's fucking do it,
I
man.
enjoy these. Like I said in the beginning, I was looking forward to this all week and you know, always looking forward to doing it again.
I have that much because it is bad luck to toast on an empty glass.
All right, I
And
think I got a little bit left in here too.
it is cheers, it
All
is
right.
prost, it is skull, it is gombe. Cheers to all you patrons out there. We'll see you on the next one. That does it for us.
Adios.